Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Saeed TV. We are live for the debate show Saturday. You know what goes down, man. We give you a classic debate show. Last week we were talking about Hojlund getting announced, and we had the Here We Go forward this weekend. We got the unveiling of Hojlund, and there to see it was James. James, how are you, mate? Everything all good?
Yeah, I'm all good, man. Nice to have football back at Old Trafford and with my American counterparts today, and they've had enough football over there, like they've had us over there for the past few weeks. So it was nice to see football come back home and to a rainy Old Trafford, and nice to welcome Rasmus Hojlund to Old Trafford today as well. So big up Staffy, big up Mike, big up Saeed, and hit that like button on the way in, would you? Cost nothing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Big up Andy as well, mate. He was there at Old Trafford as well. Big up Andy. Man, like Michael in the building. You see Anthony, you see my baller today. Assist and a goal, man. What you saying today? There shouldn't be any talk
On
about
your head.
Anthony today.
Nah, we'll
On
speak
your
up.
head.
We'll speak about Anthony later. But yo, first of all, I missed the Hojlund announcement. I slept through it.
Me too, I'm not gonna lie.
I woke up like 15 minutes after the game started, so I missed the announcement. And the first thing I see, this guy isn't ready to fucking play. I'm like, bro.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's
crazy. We'll
crazy.
touch
But
on
nah,
that. Yeah,
otherwise,
yeah,
but big up everyone and make sure you hit the like button, like James said. And yeah,
yeah, man. Big up to you, man. Like Staffy, the group chat was popping off in the first half, but it was all good in the end. But yeah, man, what you saying, bro? You good?
Listen, to James's point about us having all the football the last few weeks, I had to message Saeed yesterday. I was like, Saeed, I think Google's making a mistake. It's saying the game is 7:45 my time, which means midnight over there. I was like, something is wrong.
Yeah.
He's like, no, Staffy, that's in the morning. And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta wake up at 7 a.m. for a game. I totally got
Yeah.
used to the games being at night because you guys have been, I mean, the team's been in the United States. I was like, oh shit, it's back to Premier League settings.
Hold
No,
that, man. Yeah, man. You man
yeah,
have been
man.
getting me up at like 4 in the morning, man. So you guys have got to hold that. I can't lie to you.
Listen,
Um,
California people, they had it bad, bro. CK had to wake up
bro.
at 4 a.m. to watch this
bro,
game.
he tweeted his alarm times yesterday. I
I
was
saw
seeing
that and I
two.
was like, why is he waking up at
I was
4 a.m.?
seeing
But then it
3 a.m.,
made sense.
4:45. That's crazy. No, I can't be happening to me.
Yeah,
No
it's
shot.
crazy, man. Yeah, man. But big up to you guys all around the world who end up watching the games. Masood's coming in with an early super chat saying, early super chat for you, Saeed, but I see you're panicking. Relax, bro. We will come good this season. Preseason has been analyzed far too much. Well, there's 400 of you in the building. We're going to get into it. I think it was a game of two halves, James. The first half was terrible. But how do you sum up that game for you just before we dissect it in bits and bobs? How do you sum up that game today?
Yeah, a complete game with two halves, mate. Another chance for the team to get some minutes in the leg. I think the majority of the team got 90 minutes, which is good. It's probably their first 90 minutes of preseason. So it was good to see what Ten Hag classes as his first 11, basically. We may see Dalot change for Wan-Bissaka, but apart from that, I'm pretty sure that's his strongest 11, especially with Hojlund out. So yeah, it was good to see the lads get minutes in the legs. The first half, we looked very lethargic, looked off the pace, non-existent pressing. It very much looked like Ten Hag really got into them at half-time and gave them a bit of a rollicking because straight from the first minute of the second half, they looked a completely different team. The pressure off the ball was completely different. The attitude was completely different. The intent was completely different. And the result was completely different. And we went from 1-0 down in the first half to a comfortable 3-1 win in a second half. So yeah, lots to get into, lots to analyse, but not all negative as the last chat said. I'm sure Saeed isn't too negative today.
No. There's bits I want to talk about. The second half performance was good, man. I think Garnacho was excellent in the whole game. You know, he's a bright spark, and also Bruno Fernandes, I thought had a good game for me. That's just my only. And I thought also Lisandro Martinez was excellent in just that final ball, man. He's just unbelievable. But Duffy, how did you kind of sum it up in the game? Obviously, we'll analyze it and whatnot. But a game of two halves for you again, or a bit different for you?
I honestly think, and this is not gonna go well with a lot of people, but I even said in the chat side, I don't think it's a game of two halves. I think it's a game of like 15 minutes in the second half where we played exceptionally well, and then we slowed down. But before James, before you get onto me, when you're up 3-1, I mean you kind of do take your foot off the gas a little bit. So I'm
Yeah.
not expecting us to go full speed for 45 minutes in the second half when you're up 3-1 in a friendly game. So just wanted to put that out there before you attack. But yeah, it was less than that. I like what I saw in those 15 minutes. But like James said, like he definitely gave him a kick up the ass at halftime because we scored 3 goals before 60 minutes. So from 45 to 60 minutes, we were full onto it. And it's good and bad. It's good that it shows you that the team could do it. It's worrying because, like, why did you have to be down 1-0, wait for halftime for the manager to give you a talk, and then come out and do that? Because I do
A
remember
better team.
there was times with Ole that remember there was days with Ole where we were known as a second half team. We would always play bad in the first half. I forgot which season that was, and we would always come on and win in the second half. And we always thought that's not sustainable enough. So I hope we don't do something like that going into this season, because definitely there's quality there. Definitely there's a plan, but I don't think we should be waiting to be down or waiting for halftime for the manager to have to give them a kick up the ass every time, and then they come out in the second half and show what they're actually about. That's the only thing that kind of worries me about it.
Yeah. I mean, Michael, I mean, the first goal there. How do you? Because for me, Dallow's in trouble. But is Onana off his line way too much, or is this what we're gonna have to? Like United fans are gonna have to hold it. We need a guy who holds his line, who will then play and be that super keeper. This is what we wanted. This is what David De Gea was out. You know what I mean? This is why people want Onana. But who's involved there? Because Dalot, for me, like I said to you, I've got question marks over Dalot, and we're gonna talk about a right back situation. But who's in trouble there? Because the worst thing for me, a defender, any player does, is play a pass infield. You know what I mean? If you play that pass and you play that diagonal pass into the centre backs and they're not switched or they're not kind of ready, as I think it was it Varane or was it Lisandro? One of the two.
It was Varane.
But yeah. How do you explain that first goal then? Because who's in fault?
First of all, I want to like big up Onana because he's the one that took responsibility in the end. So like that's kind of leadership that you want to see from your goalie, because your goalkeeper is typically your captain of your defense. He's the one that kind of instructs everyone.
Did he speak about it?
Yeah, he said that.
What he said?
He's like, no matter what, like the pass and everything, that's on me. I'm the one that has to be like, make sure I'm in position, make sure everyone's ready to wear a pass and stuff like that. As like kind of, I remember Van der Sar was like always the captain, him, Vidic, Ferdinand, like they always had a good leadership. For me, it's Dalot's fault. Like you said, the inward passes. Him and Wan-Bissaka are both culpable of this. They both telegraphed their passes when they pass it inside.
Yeah,
Wan-Bissaka, the mistake against Dortmund, it was a similar mistake. It led to easy transition.
Similar, yeah, you're right. You're right.
So I think that Varane was kind of out of position a little bit too. But Onana, I mean, I'm fine with it, especially like I'd rather this happen in a preseason friendly than again in the Europa League like it happened to Ramsdale. I'd rather it happen in preseason, in my opinion. Like it's gonna happen. Maybe he should be a little behind, but it's something that we're gonna have to live at the end of the day. I've seen Ederson get chipped from the halfway line. I've seen Alisson get chipped. Every goalkeeper gets chipped from the halfway line at some point, especially if you're gonna be that proactive as a keeper. But in the end, it's just a funny goal to concede. Obviously, the clips are coming out. Onana did what? Everyone was waiting for Onana's first mistake.
I get it. It's banter. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a goal that we might concede another 2 times this season. It might happen again. Who knows? Maybe like some guy from Luton Town is going to score a halfway line goal against us. We never know. So it's just something we're going to have to hold at the end of the day. But more Dalot, just like stop making the inward passes. That's like you said, Sai, that's a dangerous pass, especially the opposition is going to be reading it. And then maybe our center back be in better position. But at the end of the day, it's just a goal that happens. I'd rather concede maybe something like that than other goals sometimes, like where you just get absolutely cooked.
But you know what it was though? That was the theme of the first half, man. That first half was terrible. I know you, James, were at the ground, but for me, the common theme was we were getting exposed in midfield. Casemiro was left on his own far too much. Listen, he's not the greatest on the ball. He's in terms of his destroyer. You see the amount of tackles he won in areas where you thought, right. But when he's obviously, you know what I mean, the game's stretched, he doesn't have the legs in a sense to kind of do it because the midfield's so exposed. And I don't know about you, but I wrote a comment today. I said, midfield's wide, it's too open. And people were like, no, it's not, it's the fullbacks. No, it's not, it's this person. I'm like, everyone's just blaming each other when I know it's the midfield. I can see it. How is Martinez twice 1v1 against a striker? Luckily, someone came in the outside and helped him out. But where do you think it went wrong in that first half? And what was the problem for you? Like, what did you see there was an issue?
There's definitely an issue with the balance in midfield, isn't there? I think everyone is saying it and everyone can kind of see it. And I think in certain games in the Premier League, I think it's it's going to get exposed in certain games. It'll work. So we are looking at the potential signing of Amrabat, and I think you're going to see a situation in the Premier League where Ten Hag plays with almost 2 6s in some games, and he plays with 2 8s in other games. And today, I think people are underestimating how good Lens are as a team. They lost the Ligue 1 title by 1 point to PSG, so it wasn't mugs that we were playing today. They finished on 85 points in their league, so they're not mugs, right? So what happens is when you play a team like that, we could face them in the Champions League this season, by the way, so they're a good team, is they expose your weaknesses, and people aren't going to like this. And this isn't me judging him as a player, because I think he is absolutely excellent. Casemiro is an excellent player. However, what you have to look at is the fact that we saw the best and the worst of Casemiro today. I think off the ball, you see the best of him. I think he's superb. Like you said, he's a destroyer. Some of his tackling was immense. His positioning is very good. On the ball, I think he's sloppy. And unfortunately, because Bruno and Mount, and to some extent, some of the fullbacks as well, aren't contributing in terms of the passing and proactiveness and creativity going forward, a lot of that gets placed on Casemiro, and that's not really his game. Like, he can do it a little bit, but it's like when you're placing the whole onus of creativity on Casemiro as well, it's not fair. So Casemiro was just asked to do a lot today. And even though Bruno and Mount in the second half were very good off the ball, lots of pressure, lots of high energy, like little terriers running around, in the first half, the energy wasn't really there. And I just think we got bypassed far too easily. And once you got past Bruno and Mount, you had two of their midfielders against Casemiro, and Casemiro's not really got the legs. So there's just a 2-on-1 situation and they get through really easily. And to be honest, it's a good job that Varane and Martinez had good games, because they could have probably scored a couple and maybe should have scored a couple against us, to be honest. But Casemiro, as good as he is, there are certain deficiencies, and they were exposed today. So I think if you're going to play the whole season with that midfield three, you are going to come up against some teams that are going to be able to overwhelm that midfield. And that was the issue today.
Yeah, there was a couple of people online, but I won't mention names, but Casemiro, this is why for me, we did the podcast on, I think it was Wednesday or was it Tuesday, late vibes, and we were talking about Casemiro being the scapegoat of the fan base, because they'll see deficiencies and he'll be the one that maybe gets exposed. But we have to understand what the problem is. There has to be a problem first before it gets to Casemiro, because he's almost the last line of defense. So if the front six or front whatever have not done their job properly, then when it gets to Casemiro and he's getting exposed, that's crazy to me. But I look at the midfield balance and I think Mount's a good player for what he does off the ball. But I think on the ball, and him and Bruno is too similar, man. It is too similar. And I say that because both of them, I think Bruno Fernandes, in terms of what he could do, that long pass in behind, I don't think anybody can doubt that. But in terms of keeping the ball, they both play hot potato. So what you then have is no control in midfield. What you then have is havoc. What you then have is bang, switch your play. They go attack, you go attack. It's very, very much a case of who has the best attack. We don't really have the best attack. If they do on their day, they win. So you're not going to get control, and that's my kind of understanding of this midfield. And it's going to be like that, obviously, until we get Amrabat and maybe someone else, Kobe Mino. It's crazy how Kobe Mino was giving us that balance in the preseason. But yeah, Staffy, what do you want to say about that midfield in terms of the situation there, the first half?
I mean, the thing is, Said, we're playing football right now at a very high pace. And I'm not going to lie, I don't enjoy this brand of football. I don't enjoy fast-paced football anyways. So to your point about Casemiro, when you do play the way that we play right now, because when you look at everyone that we're putting, so our wingers, our Garnacho, Anthony, yeah, you can argue that he's not the best one on transition, but he's also not the best on the ball. He kind of gives up the ball a lot. You got Rashford down the middle, then you got right behind them Bruno and Mount. Everyone that I just named is not really known for protecting the ball and being good on the ball and being patient with the ball. So when you have these guys playing ahead of Casemiro, and we're playing that transition football at the speed that we're playing at, there's a lot of mistakes that are going to happen because you have to actually move the ball very fast. These guys are not the best at doing that. They're still, some of them are developing. Some of them, in my opinion, are not good enough. So you will end up losing the ball a lot. Now, when you lose the ball a lot, who's the first person to meet this, the counterattack? It's going to be Casemiro. So Casemiro is going to have a big job to do this season because he's going to get ran at a lot on the transition by the other teams. And to your other point about Martinez, when you said you didn't like how we saw him a few times one-on-one with defenders, You should expect that a lot, Said, because I said that when we signed Onana. I said he's the perfect signing because we're going to be left, our defenders are going to be left one-on-one a lot this season. When you play transition, you have to expect that you're going to get hit with the counter a lot. And this is why Liverpool, I always use them as the example because they're the best team to play transition football in the last decade or so. They had Van Dijk before his injury carrying that team because he did a lot of one-on-one defending. The reason he was known as the best defender in the world is because people saw him in a lot of one-on-one situations and he always dealt with it well. Most times he dealt with it well. The reason Allison was rated very highly is because when they're getting hit with the counter, he knew when to come out and sweep. So for us this season, there's going to be a big job for Onana to come out and sweep. There's going to be a big job on Lisandro because I do think Lisandro, between him and Varane, he's the one that gets left behind a lot more, and Varane kind of advances to up the pitch more. So the transition style that we're going to play is going to take a long time for some of our players to get used to it. And I will tell you from now, don't think that all 11 players that are playing right now will be a part of this, because eventually some of them are going to get found out. Some of them are going to be found out to not be good enough, because I don't think Mount is going to be good enough for it. And eventually we're going to have to find another solution in midfield.
Bro, he just signed him, man. That's crazy.
I know that, bro. And listen, I didn't want to say anything, and I'm still gonna keep my thoughts on Mount for a little bit later, because if I say anything right now, people say it's preseason. It doesn't have to be an official game for you to score a tap in like today. You know what I mean? People want to say he's unlucky and all that. That's fine, but to me, he was always not good enough. So I do expect him to kind of collapse in these big pressure moments. But I won't be surprised as we advance through the season that some of these players are going to get found out that they're not good enough to play this brand of football. I do expect 2-3 of them to eventually be put on the bench, and he's going to try something else with probably better names, especially when we bring in Amrabat.
You know, with the Mount situation, I think off the ball is where he's going to be key at. But a lot of the time, because obviously we don't protect the ball well, he has to then have some kind of balance in midfield. But Michael, I'll come to you in terms of that midfield. Like, where do you see the issues in that situation there? Like, what's your assessment of it?
I think the structure is just wrong by Ten Hag, to be honest. I think he needs to just coach and put players in positions where we're not going to get cooked on. I said Casemiro's going to get cooked by Thanksgiving if we're going to keep playing like this. He, as good as a destroyer that he is, and he is great at covering acres of space, he's a little older. And, bro, this guy is one slide tackle away from getting suspended for 3 games again. This guy, every time he slide tackles, I think he's going to get a red card. I actually have PTSD from that. I'm scared when he goes in on the challenge. But I just think Mount is playing, him and Bruno are playing too high up. I just think, when you look at that Liverpool midfield, I liken Mount to Wijnaldum. I think that's the role he should play, the connector role, where he's not he's an 8, he's not a 10. Also, if we play a diamond, let's say 4-4-2, because Rashford's going to be playing through the middle. Regardless, when Hojlund comes in, Rashford will always drift through the middle, which means Mount's job will have to be that left-hand side, because Rashford's not going to be there. Shaw's going to be either behind Mount or he's bombing up. So Mount's going to have to cover that left-hand side by himself and be able to pick up the ball between the lines there and just transition the ball. I think I saw some good parts today. There was a couple of transitions where in the first half, it was a poor half, but there were moments where we could have easily scored, like the Mount tap in. There was I think CK put it on Twitter. There was a Lisandro between the line pass. I think it ended up to Rashford's feet, and Rashford went to Bruno instead of passing it back to Mount, who would have had an easy feed to Garnacho. Is those small things that when you play transition football that Ten Hag wants to play, what made Liverpool so great was, they were efficient. Bayern Munich, when they play 100% football, when you play transition, you need to be efficient. Those small things, not making that pass could have cost you 2 chances right there. If you make that pass, that's 2 chances created. It's those kind of things, and that takes time because these players aren't used to play. While these players we call them counterattacking players, they're not used to playing at this pace the whole game. When we play under Ole, we play counterattacking football, but our football was slow. It wasn't quick style way that Ten Hag is. The 1-1 defending that staff he's talking about. Erik Ten Hag is known for leaving his defenders on an island 1v1. It worked in the Eredivisie because no disrespect to Eredivisie wingers, but they're not of the highest quality. You're not going up against top wingers that you are in the Premier League. So Lisandro and Timber it was easy for them. Lisandro's weakness for me will always be 1v1 defending. I think that's his one weakness as a player. He's exceptional, 10 out of 10 in pretty much every other attribute, but he could get cooked. We saw what happened with Salah. That's the kind of wingers you're going to be going up against. But I just think the midfield, it's up to Erik ten Hag to coach it and just find a little more balance. Because in the second half, we saw it. Mount dropped a little deeper. I was seeing him get engaged more, helping Shaw more in defense. That's what you gotta do, bro. I should, like Safi said, like, bro, it shouldn't only take one half and then you get to kick up the behind to kind of. It has to be when you play this style of football, you can't take 45 minutes off. You gotta be able to play for a full 90 minutes, and that's what Erik ten Hag had in his Ajax team. They played that way for 90 minutes, and that's why they were so entertaining to watch in UCL. These guys are gonna have to get used to it, and it's something that we're just gonna have to be patient with if he's gonna persist with this. Do I think Kobe Manu missing hurts a lot? Yes, because I think he's a better connector. I think he could be able to play next to Casemiro a little better maybe than Mount does. Obviously, that's kind of a lot of pressure put on an 18-year-old, but we've all been praising this kid for the last year and a half, and we all heard about how good he was coming up through the ranks. Amrabat can help because we saw what that guy did in the World Cup. He is a one-man tank engine. He could just cover acres.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. He could
bro.
cover two positions.
He's so underrated, by the way, Said, because he's so cheap. He's for 25 million. People really underrate him. If he was a 50+ million signing, people would be like, oh, what are they getting there? What's on their hands? But because he's cheap, people think like we're getting someone who's just like a B-Tech version of, I don't know. Like he's actually very decent on the ball. People think this guy's best attributes is just destroying. He's actually very good and very composed on the ball. He's actually much more composed on the ball than Casemiro is. But people don't want to have this conversation because like he's half the price that Casemiro was. He's arguably half the player that Casemiro was in terms of his career. But when you actually sit down and you watch his ability, he will add so much balance to that midfield. When we had conversations last season about Eriksen off the ball, but he's decent on the ball, people will see if he comes in and he gets played in the 8 position. He doesn't actually have to play deep. If he just gets played in the 8 position, basically Eriksen's position last season, people will see how he's composed on the ball. And when we lose the ball, Casemiro doesn't have to be on his own. He will add so much balance to that midfield that people don't want to entertain that because it's only 25 million. It's not by the price tag.
I think my only issue with the Casemiro Amrabat is Amrabat likes to be at the base when he picks up the ball. Where are you going to put Casemiro then? You can't put Casemiro.
That's the thing, though.
You can't put Casemiro higher up because you can't put Casemiro higher up the pitch because he's not mobile enough. He's not good on the turning. But we've seen this guy every time he's about to turn, he just lofts the ball up the pitch. He doesn't know how to turn on the.
This is a test for Ten Hag, man.
That's not his thing. So I don't really want to see. I don't want to see Casemiro and Amrabat that much, to be honest. Unless we're like,
I don't think we'll see it a lot, though, Michael.
We won't. But
because that's not. It's not really what he's trying to do, anyways. Ten Hag is trying to play higher up the pitch. I think it's very obvious. We've seen it. He wants to be as advanced as possible, as much as possible on that pitch. So adding another deep lying midfielder is not really what he's trying to do, but it will come in handy in certain games. Or in certain part of the games, because you don't have to, as Michael said, some of these players are not even used to playing this style of football for 90 minutes. There's going to be games where you're winning. Let's say you're playing, I don't know, a top 6 team and you're up 1-2-0. You don't need to keep Mount on for 90 minutes when you're trying to protect your lead. So you might bring on an Amrabat and kind of switch it a little bit and add a little bit more balance to the midfield.
Yeah. Big up Rajaf says here, when on the ball, Mount ventures too far forward. He has to be the pass before the pass. If we are to get the best of Mount in big games, Casemiro is going to be terribly exposed with his style of play. I agree to it a certain extent, and this is why he's got to bring in Amrabat in them big games. The thing with me with Mount is that I think, like I said to you, he's understanding what his game is. He's understanding the teammates as well, so that will take time in a sense. But I think when I said to people that I will see more of his qualities off the ball than on the ball, I wasn't lying, because that's all I've seen right now so far in the preseason. That off the ball is what Ten Hag is wanting from him. On the ball, I think Eriksen is clear, but off the ball is where you're going to see the Premier League really, really, truly is what it's about now. Mino Amrabat next to Casso, 55 million bench, Mount. What do you think in there? That debate there, James, in terms of Mount and his role in this team now. Are you confident he can be that bridge that we need, or do you still think it's going to be a fan base going to be split in terms of where he plays and what he does? Has it got to be clear for him what the manager wants from him? Has it got to be clear for people to see?
Mate, he could be putting in 8, 9, 10 out of 10 performances each week, and the fan base would still be split on opinion. So That doesn't really help. I mean, on the Mount thing, I think you were being a little unfair when you say all you've seen is off the ball. I actually think some of his performances pre-season on the ball has been okay. Some of his link-up play has been good. Some of his half turns have been good. His arrival into space is very good. He's got into a lot of good positions and created a lot of good chances. Ironically, left his shooting boots at home. The ball behind him from Garnacho was a little behind him today and he slips, but he should still put it away. And let's be honest, if he's already scored 2 goals for Man United, then that probably goes in today. I think once that monkey's off his back, he's probably a different kind of player. The pressure of the 7 is going to tell, obviously. I think when it all comes down to it, you've got to trust Erik ten Hag, right? Erik ten Hag has wanted Mason Mount for about 4 years, so he very much knows the player he's got. It's not like he's not watched him over the last few years and been like, oh yeah, I'll just grab this player from Chelsea. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Let's throw £55 million at him and then let's just hope he's okay. I think he very much fits the profile that Erik ten Hag wants to play. And people need to realise that just because Erik ten Hag has played a certain way before Ajax, it doesn't mean he's necessarily going to play that way at Manchester United. The Premier League is a completely different kettle of fish. And when people are talking about transition football, I saw it a lot today, right? We were passing the ball along the back quite a lot, recycling it sideways like Man Cities do, like other teams do. And people are like, oh, it's not fast. I thought he was talking about fast transitions. And it's like the word transition means move from point A to point B. So you can be at point A for ages. Like you can be at point A, slow as you want, slow as you want, slow as you want. Move spaces in front, and then bam, one ball, whether from Onana, Martinez, Casemiro, whatever, bam, and you're away. So that first goal from us today was 10 seconds back to front, and then Rashford scores. That second goal is bam, out to Garnacho into Anthony, boom, 2-1. And then the third goal obviously comes from a set piece. But that is transition football. I think if you spoke to Erik ten Hag, I think he'd tell you that he was pretty happy with the second half performance. I think it was pretty much how he wants to play. If you speak to the Manchester United fan base, they will probably tell you they're not that happy. They were happy with the 3 goals in the 15 minutes, but they want to see more. They want to see more domination, more possession, more this. And it's like, that's not necessarily the way that Erik ten Hag is going. All this 70% possession nonsense that came from Ajax and people have been preaching for a year, I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. And when the guys were talking about there's certain players that may drop out over the next couple of years that may not be good enough, that might be the case, but there may be certain players that come in that you're not expecting as well. And on the price tag thing, and is he going to hold bench because he's 55 million? Well, Sancho held bench and he was 75 million. Maguire held bench and he's 80 million. Like Wan-Bissaka held bench and he was 50 million. Fred held bench and he was 50 million. So at the end of the day, if the player is good enough, regardless of the price tag, he will play. If he's not good enough, he won't. And this is the problem people had with Maguire. They were like, oh, Ollie has to pick Maguire. He's 80 million pound. He has to pick him. And they've said that about Ten Hag. Anthony's Ten Hag's man, 100 million euros. He has to play him. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I think we've learned from Erik ten Hag. He's pretty ruthless. And I think he will pick what he sees fit as the best team. And at the moment, that is Mason Mount in there. And whether that stays like that remains to be seen. I think it's far too quick to pass judgment. I think Mason Mount he's played, a couple of games since April because he was injured. So literally he's played a couple of games. Everyone's saying, oh, we've not seen this work. It's like, this was this group of players' first 90 minutes together in terms of a total 90 minutes that they've played together. So how anyone thinks they can make a judgment again against a team that finished with 85 points in Liga, and so they're no mugs, and people are writing off players. I'm like, I just give up with football fans sometimes when they decide that they can write off players after they've played 90 minutes of a preseason game after having a couple of months off. I think it's nonsense.
No. I don't think anybody's writing anyone off.
I think there's plenty of people writing players off, Saeed. If you've seen compilations today, there's plenty of people writing people.
Listen, Twitter's a mad world, isn't it? You know what I mean? Twitter's crazy world.
Twitter's a good
one thing I want to say though, the one thing I want to disagree with you on though, the players that you mentioned there, Sancho, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, he didn't buy though, he bought Mason Mount, and that's where I think now the kind of maybe spotlight is on players that he has brought in that have maybe not performed. So that's where we've paid on Anthony, he's not performed. And obviously that's the scrutiny that maybe people are looking at, is that we have overpaid for certain players, and maybe that Mason Mount is a player that we've overpaid for, and then the scrutiny comes in. We have to give him time, but like I said to you, now the midfield balance is what it is. I think it's getting magnified even more. Was Mason Mount needed in that midfield, knowing what football we're going to be playing? And that's another thing that we'll have to wait out and see. We have to wait and see.
What football are we going to play, Saeed? This is what I want to know. Because you're talking about the football that we're going to play. What football? Because the only quotes I've seen from Erik ten Hag talk about transitional football, but what that means to me might be completely different to what that means to you.
No. I don't mean it in the way we're playing football, but in terms of how his ideologies perform on the football pitch. So what he wants from the players, can it then be translated into the style that I think should be consistent? Like I said, the first 45 compared to the next 45, they were completely different halves. And I
Yeah.
think that's where I think we're going to see whether the midfield balance works, and then it can translate to the football that the manager wants. I think them two there, if they can coincide together, I think we've got a very, very good Ten Hag team. Again, things are not black and white. Things are not, you know what I mean, 1+1 is 2. Like football doesn't become that. And
Yeah.
managers lose their jobs because of that. So that's where I think the apprehensiveness of the fans is now projected onto the players. And they just wanted to get it right. I think it's 1 week left to the season starts. It's not as if fans are now being negative. I think fans now maybe starting to see that, listen, we've got a week left to the season starts, and we still are a bit iffy in terms of our style of play, and a bit iffy in terms of maybe having consistent patterns of what we're trying to
But
do.
you've seen like
That-
180 minutes of that midfield three playing together, right? Like combined, you've seen
Yeah.
probably about 180 minutes. So to say, like, to freak out and be like, oh, they can't play together, it's like, well,
I'm
Eric
saying
Ten
I was
Hag's
freaking out.
watched him before. No, I'm not saying you have, but people have said they can't play
Okay.
together. There is a three. And I'm like, we don't know that yet. Eric Ten Hag has identified Mason Mount as someone that can work in the way that he plays. And we're judging it after 180 minutes of football. And realistically, we don't know.
Yeah, no, 100%. Big up to the comment here, United all the way, says even Madrid fans have been calling Bellingham a waste of money and overrated after losing 3 games in a row. Fans just find scapegoats. Winning trophies will at least stop it somewhat. Of course, winning
Facts.
football is always the situation. But I think ultimately, you know, we want best for Man United, and we want best for the team. And I think right now we're all trying to find a balance. Is it Dalot versus Wan-Bissaka? Is it still Anthony on that right-hand side? Look at the striker situation. Rashford, should he then be still playing up front when you're deep in that? There's certain things that Ten Hag needs to kind of solve right now. Obviously, Hojlund not playing for the first couple of weeks is a bit of a killer, but that should be not serious. But again, Rashford up front didn't work first half. Second half was better, Michael. But overall, do you think that will happen in terms of that section there, or do you reckon it'll be Garnacho still? What are you saying over there?
Oh, with Rashford 9, I mean, last year I was actually a big advocate for Rashford 9. I thought he looked better as like the more performances he put in there. Obviously, when preseason started, he didn't look interested. Maybe I think he didn't want to like put like I'm not trying to say like he don't want to put effort, but I think the pitches in America are not good. We saw what happened with Nkunku in Chelsea.
Yeah.
I don't think he wanted to go 100 full percent to kind of like obviously just get his feet wet and everything, just get used to the season. And today, you saw in the second half, like once he scored that goal, that was the Marcus Rashford we all saw last year. He started doing the skills and everything, the nice little elastico, stuff like that. That's what I want to see from Rashford. And I saw nice little pieces of play where he like kind of connected it. But Rashford also has said, I think was it with Neville, he said he doesn't like playing 9 because he doesn't get involved as much. Wayne Rooney had the same issue. When you play that winger and you love to like be on the ball so much, playing 9 is very difficult because you're not getting on the ball that much. But I think Rashford, I think he'll do the job for the team if Ten Hag tells him he has to play 9 for right now because Hojlund's not here. He'll do the job. I think with him and Garnacho, if Ten Hag, like with this transitional football, you have two of the best transition outlets you could have in Garnacho and Rashford. Because Garnacho, this preseason, he's been on bar Sancho before today maybe. Garnacho's been our best performer in preseason from an attacker's point of view because he looks dangerous in transition. His ball carrying numbers have always been elite per 90s when you look at all that. But this year, he looks more sure of himself. He knows how to get to his spots better. What he does in those spots, obviously, is still a little mixed, but no young winger is perfect in terms of decision making. The few that were almost generational talents. They were world class players already at that young age. Garnacho is still young. The step over is kind of, you get the young Ronaldo vibes. Obviously, I'm sure he modeled his game after him. We all know how much Garnacho loves CR7. So, but just like he's a killer. And there was a debate last week on Twitter with like Pellistri and Garnacho. I said Pellistri sometimes is better at like maybe the first couple of phases of play because he's more experienced. He's played more senior football. But Garnacho has that X factor that like a Pellistri doesn't have. And that's what Garnacho, that's why Ten Hag loves him because his directness, once he gets that ball, he's not going to pass back like an Anthony does. He's looking at his fullback and he's like, I'm taking you on. I'm going to take you down that left and then I'm going to figure out what to do after. That pass, that assist for Anthony is exactly what you want to see Garnacho do more instead of sometimes he'll put his head down, go a little more forward into the box, and then he'll shoot with his left.
And I said that. I said that last show. So you remember on the last America Talks, I said that. I said that the issue is we have a lot of good individual wingers, but collectively they don't do well. And today, when you see it, I called out Garnacho for that last time. I said he's doing too much unnecessarily things on the ball. Like, I feel like sometimes he likes to drive at a defender. I get that. He's a different kind of winger. He's not like your Sancho. He's not going to look for a pass or a safe pass or whatever. He wants to drive at defenders. I appreciate that. Okay, so he's different. But then to me, when you're doing all these step overs and the first thing you're thinking of is looking down and taking a shot, sometimes that doesn't work, especially when you have a Rashford next to you who needs someone to feed him the ball. Today, he actually did that. He did that twice. He did it once with Mount when that one was missed, and he did that with Anthony. So my criticism to Garnacho actually was right, because today he did the opposite, and then potentially he should have had 2 assists. You know what I mean? And this is what I need to see more. Same thing for Anthony. Anthony on that right-hand side. The reason I keep saying it, because that's how I was making fun of Michael, because he doesn't like Anthony. I keep telling him he's the best balance for us on the right-hand side. The minute he cuts in, there's a lot of options, because he could shoot, he could pass, and there's an overlap. Now, his execution on the ball is the issue, because he does shoot a lot, but then they all just miss the target. So I do get that part. But today was a pure example of why when he's on that right-hand side, he's our best option, because he cuts in and Rashford knows now I can make that run behind the defender and hopefully Anthony can find me. Today he found him. There's going to be another instance where he does the same thing and the pass is not going to be good enough and people are going to go onto him. But that's the thing. He has to play. To me, he has to stay there. He has to stay consistent and try those correct things, but just improve that last pass, improve that shot. And if he does that, today he had a goal on assist. If he has that, people are going to stop talking about his price tag. No one's going to care anymore about the price tag.
I just remember Garnacho, bro. I remember from the Derby game against City where I knew that he was it. Remember that assist that he got, right? He shot at first. And the moment he got the ball back, I thought he would shoot again because we all know how Garnacho is.
He passed it in.
He passed it with his weak foot, not even his strong foot, across the pitch. That's a winger that, like, as experience goes, as the more and more he plays, the more and more his decision making will get better. And we're gonna have a player that, soon enough, I think in 3 years we're gonna have to be fighting Real Madrid to keep him here, because he's gonna be that good that maybe not Real Madrid because they have Vinicius, or Barcelona, for example, because they have like no left finger. Those are the type of kids. And then for Anthony, he's incredibly important out of possession, because I think he's the best winger at tracking back. He knows how to put in a challenge. We saw it from his debut against Arsenal, the way he was like fighting Zinchenko, drifting inside.
That's what Sancho doesn't have.
Yeah, Anthony has intensity off the ball, but just on the ball, especially when I play transitional football, this guy doesn't know how to attack space. That's my issue with him. And as a winger, you got to be able to know how to attack space, because if he slows down our attacks a little bit too much, he'll always pass it back. We saw the clip from Roy Whitwell that he said that where they were training in San Diego, how Ten Hag got mad at him. So it's just Anthony's like his reluctance sometimes to just go forward, and like he just get maybe confidence, but he doesn't seem like a person that's like not always confident. He always seems like he's confident. So maybe it's not that. He's just like sometimes scared, and there's just something that has to click in his head and just attack.
You know what?
Bro.
Yeah. You know what I liked about him today, though? For me, that pass there, I reckon he could make at least 10 assists from that pass there. If Hojlund can make that run, the reverse pass. Honestly, like, it could be cash money for Anthony in terms of assists.
He's done that assist before. Remember what was it? It was the Forest game, I think. At the end of last season to Dalot. Remember that goal Dalot scored? I think it was Forest or Bournemouth, one of the two.
Yeah.
So he does that.
He's done it for Fred. I think he's done it for Fred as well. There was a goal for Fred that he made.
He's done it for Casemiro in the cup. Remember when Casemiro chipped the goal?
Casemiro, yeah. It
was in Old Trafford.
Was it Reading?
It might have been Reading.
Yeah, Reading.
So he's done it more than once. That's what I'm saying. He's very essential for us on the right-hand side, off and on the ball. The thing is, I really want him to improve on the ball, because the minute he gets that, I promise you, we have something serious on the right-hand side. Because off the ball, like Mike said, he gives us the best option. His intensity, his tracking back, he does everything that the manager wants on the defensive side, which is very good. But the minute those shots that he's taken, if he starts just hitting them on target and he scores 1 out of like every 5 shots instead of like 1 out of every 10, people are gonna like literally understand how he's the most important player for us on the right hand side. His price will be so justified.
I beg you stop shooting.
Maybe not with Mike, because I gave up on Mike. I
beg you stop shooting. Instead of just shooting, just make the pass, man. I beg you stop shooting from outside the box.
You can't ask one of your players to stop shooting, bro. Because
I do. Well, I told Dalot the same thing. Dalot should stop shooting.
Yeah, but Dalot's not an attacker. How can you have an attacker that doesn't shoot?
maybe sometimes it's the fans because the fans yell shoot and everything, bro. Just ignore them, Joe. Just stop shooting, please. Not every day outside the box.
You
It's not
are
FIFA, man.
crazy.
It's not R1 circle,
Yeah.
bro. It's not finesse shot trait, bro. Just pass the ball, please. Like he did today. Just pass the ball. It's that simple.
Bro, you can't score if you don't shoot. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's a balance. It's a balance, though. It's a balance. Like today, Garnacho, first time looked up pass. You know, there's the one area maybe, you know, you can cut in and maybe there's a shot to give. Sometimes Rashford is culpable of that. Sometimes his head's not open, but you have to have a balance. And I think Garnacho, I think he's learning that balance as he gets older. He's learning it. You got to remember, he's only played one season like professionally. You know what I mean? So he is learning that. And like I said, I thought today was excellent. The space in behind, he monopolized it well, man. If you look at the space in behind, I know Rashford's game is probably at a high level, but he's a more of a killer maybe in that front. But Garnacho, in terms of monopolizing space, like for me, I think he's somewhat does it a little bit better than Rashford in terms of
wide side. He stays so wide side.
He stays so
Rashford
wide,
doesn't try to stay away from the goal. He doesn't like being too far away from the goal. Like he still wants to drive at people, but he likes to be close enough. He cuts in a lot. Whereas Garnacho, I see him, he gets the ball and he wants to run on that line. And if he sees one or two defenders ahead of him, he has no problem taking them all the way down that line because he still thinks he can beat him by pace. And most times he does, which is different than Rashford because Rashford, the minute he gets the ball and he has someone on him, he's going to think of a way to still pass him, but on his way to goal, which is kind of different. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a little bit more direct on Rashford's side, but it's not really that effective because you can't beat a defender every time you try to dribble him at goal. Whereas Garnacho taking that line, Ronaldo used to do that when he was younger. He used to go down that line a lot on both sides, and he used to beat them and go for a cross or something, you know? So it's a little bit different, but I see what you're saying.
Jerome T. Green says, didn't we win every game on the preseason on the LVG, then lost against Swansea up in the day? Let's see how they come out against Wolves before we judge. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we're looking at what we have right now. Anthony will bag 10 goals, 10 assists this season. I'm sure of it. It's a big season, man, for Anthony, man. James, I don't know about you, but are you seeing Anthony in that light? How do you view Anthony? Because I think sometimes for every good that he does, he maybe does something bad. It's just about kind of, you know what I mean? I mean, taking the good and taking the bad really with Anthony, because that's the sort of player he is.
I like Anthony. I think that if we try and ignore the price tag, as difficult as that is, because he obviously did cost 100 million euros, so that's pretty difficult to do. But I think if you judge him on what he's done in a Manchester United shirt, I think you'd say he's probably exactly where he should be. He should start probably 70 odd 80% of games, and then a rotation option should come in for the other ones. I think that's kind of how I see Anthony. I think he's our best option on the right hand side, but there is also competition from Sancho, from Palestri, from Ahmad, from whoever on that right hand side. But Anthony's good, man. I think the problem a lot of the time with the fan base comes from us expecting him to do something that he's not capable of doing. It's like, oh, just beat a man down the line and cross with your right foot. It's like, well, if you can't do that, stop like wanting him to do it, because the more you're wanting him to do it and then not seeing him do it, you're going to like rate him down in your head for that because he's not done what you want him to do. And it's like, but that's not his game. His game is to cut inside, and then like Staffy said before, he's then got three options. He can pass inside, he can play for the overlap, or he can shoot, and that way is what he's got to keep defenders guessing. Whereas last season it was a little bit too much cut inside and then shoot. But if he utilizes the other two options, that means if Dalot or Wan-Bissaka gets on their bike a little bit more, and then Hojlund or Rashford offer themselves in space, then those options become available. And I think sometimes people don't see it, right? One of the great things about where you sit at Old Trafford, Saeed, is when you're quite higher up in the ground, you get to see the whole way that tactics play up, and you get to see everyone in space and stuff like this. You get basically a FIFA view of the pitch. And the great thing about that is you get to see the lack of space that some people have. And when you're screaming at defenders for being slow on the ball and stuff, the first thing I do is I look at the midfielders and I look where they are in space. And I look, are they moving for the ball? Are they making themselves available to receive the ball? Because if they're not, then I can't blame the defenders for holding on to it. Just like I can't blame Anthony for shooting if Marcus Rashford's not making the run, if Weghorst isn't making the run, if Dalot isn't making the overlap. So I think today he had options. I think Rashford was lively in the second half, so therefore he was creating space as for the second goal. And I think we need to continue to do that. I think what we've seen from any Hojlund compilations that we've seen is that he's very lively up front. He moves a lot. He goes into the box, makes late runs, and he's very energetic, very quick as well. So I think the addition of Rasmus Hojlund is really going to help Anthony's game, actually. I think it's going to help Anthony and Garnacho when he gets game time, and I think it's a great sign. And I do see Anthony probably keeping his spot on the right for the majority of the season, if not all the season. The 10 goals, 10 assists, I think that's quite big numbers for a winger. I know that's probably the numbers that you want a Manchester United winger to have, but in the league, 20 goal contributions is quite special. So I would say if he did that, I know you might not like it with the price tag, but I think that's exceeding expectations at 20 goal contributions. I think if he gets like 15 goal contributions, I think that's pretty good, but that may just be me.
Yeah, especially on that right hand side when we're hearing, I think Faz put out something on Twitter saying Diallo might be out for 4 months.
4 months, yeah.
I don't know,
Wait, Curse, my news out, Ahmad's out, and our best under 18 prospect, Shea Lacey, got like a big knee injury a couple of days ago, and he was meant to like.
Is it big? Is it massive big?
Yeah, apparently like
Shea Lacey.
Good. And he was meant to like play in the youth league. He was meant to play in the UEFA Youth League this year and like kind of show his talents more. So that's sad too over there.
And also, last thing as well, like I just wanted to mention, it might be relevant with injuries and stuff coming up, but I know Griggs mentioned the pitches in the US weren't that great before, but I just wanted to touch on Old Trafford today. Didn't look great. Looked absolutely cut up when I was there, which is shocking because nothing's been played on it for 7-8 weeks. But Old Trafford did not look good today, which is really, really strange.
You can't afford a lawnmower anymore either. The Glazers are so broke.
Apparently not.
The Glazers, man. They broke.
Ronaldo was right all along.
Ronaldo was right, man.
They didn't
all the money went to the new chef, man. So
did you guys see that? We hired a new chef. Ronaldo got the lunch lady fired. Bun this man.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
17 years or whatever, and she got fired. And now they're all raving about the new chef and like everyone. Oh, and just touching on that as well. Sorry to hog the thing, but there's now all these stories coming out that people have been put on personal nutrition plans and stuff. And this really bugs me as like a fitness trainer because I'm like, why hasn't this been done before? Like everyone digests different foods differently. Everyone has different reactions to certain foods. They have different intolerances. They react better to like some people run better off carbs. Some people run better off fats. Some people digest things at different rates. The fact that you are all eating the same food and the same quantities of the same food at a football club, at a professional sports team is madness. Like everyone should be on a tailored individual nutrition plan, which is completely tailored around whether you're playing or whether you're not, or whether you're training or whether you're recovered. And the fact that we've only just done that and it's being reported by The Athletic now is borderline a joke, to be honest.
Yeah. But it doesn't surprise you, man. And obviously, this doesn't surprise me as well, man. Like, Hojlund's going to be out for a couple of weeks. I mean, like, you know what it is, yeah? Every time we do something good, yeah, there's always like a catch-22 to it. Like, remember Mount? He got the number 7 shirt. Everyone started, like, not panicking, but everyone started going mad online. Then this one here, Hojlund's announced. You think he's going to be ready for not tomorrow? I think that would be the push, but for Monday. And now he's out for a couple of weeks, which it's not an injury, but I think he's not match sharp or match ready. But then again, is that not a little bit of an injury? I don't know.
People said that he did pick up a minor. They did say he picked up a minor injury with his team in preseason.
Okay, yeah.
So
boy, I just hope he's going to be ready and back, man. Because like I said, it could be one of the situations where when we had Casemiro, we were 2 losses down, and then all of a sudden he came in and we started winning games and we started, you know what I mean? So hopefully it's not serious and we can get him back because we desperately need a striker. Listen, Rashford, let's say he scored a goal today. He might have done some bits, but he is not a striker. It is frustrating. There was a ball that came over the top. Who was it from? Was it Lissandro or Nana? There was a ball like you're on mute, James.
Sorry, man. I think it was Martinez, yeah.
Martinez, yeah. And that was a perfectly weighted pass. And then he just couldn't control it. Like him playing backs against to the goal is not going to happen, people. And he said it in an interview on the overlap. He said he doesn't like playing there. He feels like he's frustrated. He feels like he doesn't seem to be in the game, and he doesn't have that intelligence for me to be playing in that role. So, we got to wait desperately for him to come back. But does that mean we go again for a striker in the market? Like, do we not
we was always gonna go for a striker again, Said. Let's not kid ourselves.
We should go for a striker again. Like, let's be real. If a striker is out for the first couple of weeks of the season, are we then saying we're going to rely on Rashford for the first couple of weeks against Arsenal, against these teams that are at the start of the season? I think for me that would be crazy, man. Is there no other striker we go for that
I
can
just
be
remembered
cheap?
that we have Martial in our team too.
I don't care about that.
Martial, man.
I
Oh,
just
no.
remembered that, and I was like, I love how we need a striker, and we're not even entertaining the thought that we have one of the strikers in our team because he's just never available. We forgot about him, and he's right there. It's just like insane.
Yeah.
I would still go for a striker with or without Hojlund being fit. If I'm being very honest with you, because I've been saying it for
A
weeks.
campaign.
I wanted 2 strikers anyways. You know, even if we could have, I'm not saying it will happen, but even if getting Kane was still an option after spending all that money on Hojlund, I still would have done
Have
it.
you heard about the Kane situation, by the way? Did you hear about it?
Levy's in Miami, isn't he?
Bro,
Miami,
Bayern Munich, Bayern Munich,
Bro.
they're so like. I'm sorry,
Fill me in. What I miss,
bro? They have no idea who they're negotiating with. They try to set a deadline with Daniel Levy. This guy does not care about what a deadline is. He heard about a deadline and like James said, he went to Miami. This guy doesn't care. They think.
Wait, he went to Miami mid negotiations.
Yeah, bro.
He's gone on holiday for 2 weeks.
Bayern thought it was
There you go.
Stuttgart, Dortmund, Schalke. Nah, man, this is not how you do.
Look, he's in the airport.
Bro.
What a lad.
He's gone.
Yo, that's hilarious.
What a
The
lad,
season is
man.
about to
This guy
start. The season is about to start, and his star player is being linked away from the club all summer. And this guy says,
You know why he's
"Fuck
doing
it,
this
I'm
though?
going to
Because
Miami."
Kane is a soft guy, soft guy. He doesn't want to create any stability or any kind of commotion around his transfer. He doesn't want to leave on bad notes or any bad terms. He just wants to say, right, can you let me go now? Am I allowed to go? Like,
I mean,
Bad
Kane-
impression, Saeed.
the move.
to be
No,
fair,
but
Kane
it's true
said,
though, man.
Kane
Can
said
you let me go?
Kane said if he doesn't leave by the first game of the season, he doesn't want to leave. That's Kane's deadline. The move doesn't happen. He's fine staying under a year under Proseglu, and then next year,
it's good
you
for
think
us
about it.
next year.
Yeah, because Kane
Well-
next year has a pick of every club that he wants. Any club can offer him a contract, and he gets to pick. And I'm sure there's not going to be only Bayern Munich coming in for him. I'm sure we're going to come in for him. I'm sure Chelsea are going to come in for him. Actually, no, maybe not. Top Boy is only infatuated with like under 21s these days, so never mind. This guy just wants to sign.
Have the rules changed, by the way? Because the rules used to be that foreign clubs could talk to agents from January that were out of contract, but then Premier League clubs could only speak to them from June. Has that changed, or is it like do we have to wait till June and Bayern could speak to him in Jan or not?
I think that's changed. I'm
You
pretty
think,
sure.
you think anyone can speak to him from Jan?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, remember Pogba? Pogba was the same. There was a couple of others as well. Yeah,
because Man City talked with his agent with might not have been Raul by then, but like I remember Man City were talking with Pogba about like mid-March or something like that. So yeah, we could definitely
maybe we get these Brazilians, man. With these Brazilians from abroad, man. The fact that Chelsea are going for this Washington kid, you know what I mean? I don't know, man. Is there any Brazilian gems out there that we could
I
possibly
I got some Argentinians though. But...
Bro, we never signed young
I'm telling you,
South American talent, and I always hated that.
Benfica and Porto have clocked the system. They're just buying 85% of rights for every Argentinian player. They signed I forgot his name, some winger. I think it was like Gancher or something like that, some winger. And then Porto signed Varela, who I really wanted from Boca. There's a kid named do you remember Redondo, the Madrid player?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know him.
His son's a DM in the Argentina league. He's cold. Wow. I want to sign him. That's a Casemiro replacement in a couple of years. I would like to sign.
Yeah,
there's plenty of players, man. We don't go.
Saeed, you brought up that question, but I saw that question get brought up on the Big Six, and it caused quite a debate because Matisse sidetracked it into a whole nother debate and a whole nother debate. Do you want to bring up that debate?
No. Listen, man, I don't want to bring
what debate are we talking
about? DM maybe it went off.
Is it the Pogba?
Yeah, just saying Pop-Up is a flop or what? And I said not really.
I'm tired. That really had me angry.
I'm tired of the Pop-Up, like the flop. I'm seeing his comps every day on Twitter. I'm tired, man.
I was happy when he left because I thought the disrespect was going to be over. I was like, you know what? He left. You don't have to talk about him no more. And then I go on the Big Six. I even messaged Saeed. It was so late, and I was watching the replay, and I'm like, Saeed, I can't believe what they just put you through, bro. Because this talk is so annoying. I saw Saeed, I saw your face. Saeed just answered, and it was like, let's just move on. I don't want to talk about it no more. Because the disrespect he gets, bro, it's so annoying, bro. I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and it's just too much, man. And it gets to the point now where I'm like, you know what, man, we just need players that are gonna perform. Because I feel like United, it's you know what it is with United, and maybe I don't know. I give my own opinion, but it feels like it's hot and cold every single week. it goes from like they love that player to now it's madness. Like get him out of the team. No. Like it's crazy, but that's just the way I think United culture has become. Like it's very, very much a case of we scrutinize players so badly, but then you could love them next week. That's just the beauty of supporting Man United, I think, for the
Well,
past.
people fall in love with players. This is the problem, Saeed. Like when I come on and I give my critique of a player, I am solely looking at the 90 minutes, right, on the pitch. Like that's all I'm looking at. It's not whether I like the person or not. Like if Martial came on and had a storming game, I come on and I say he had a storming game. There's none of I love the player, I hate the player. And the problem with social media is everyone gets attached to certain players, right? And I remember seeing a certain thing, a post on social media, which sums it up perfectly, right? There was a picture of a stack of pancakes, right? And this guy was like, I love pancakes. And then underneath, the guy was like, why do you hate waffles? And he's like, I didn't say I hate waffles. I said I love pancakes. But you've just said, like, the two can't coexist. Sorry, have you just seen something?
Yeah, sorry to... Brighton
good,
reached an agreement to buy Kudus for 14 million euros, 23 of Ghana international agreement on personal terms. Deal not fully done, but deserve a target and would be Brighton's record signing. That is a big signing, you know, man. Kudus, you know.
I thought we were going
to. With Chelsea or Arsenal in for him?
Arsenal, Chelsea were in for him. Yeah, they were in for him. So,
big coup.
Yo, that's big. 40 million euros. That is what, 35 million pound. That's a good signing for the man. McAllister moves on. They get another player that similar position, you know. So
it's better than McAllister, I'll tell you that.
I think, yeah.
One year, and they're gonna be selling this guy for like 120 million next summer. Watch,
bro. You just know, man. You just know, like literally, Arsenal will come in for him next summer. 100 million they want him for. Kudus. Like it's gonna happen. Or United or whoever it is, they want to get him. They said, "Yo, we want him." Da da da. You know what I'm saying? So that's a very, very good signing, man. But listen, that's what I'm saying to you guys. Like, this season is going to be wild because everyone is making big boy moves. If you're not serious, teams will. You know, you got to be consistent. You got. You know what it is here as well now in the Premier League. You got to have guys who are match winners or who are almost going to be the difference for you. Like in United right now, I look at Rashford, Garnacho, Bruno Fernandes, and hopefully Hojlund. Them four for me, I look at them and I think match winners.
Yeah.
I need more from Mount. Hopefully he gives it us. Anthony need more. Sancho need more. Who else is out there? And then we don't Martial, we need more. But again, he's not available. We just need match winners. We need guys who are just gonna be like, yo, I am gonna win the game for us today. I need to. I will do it. I think that's where I think United, in terms of up front, killers. And how many goals we're gonna get, I don't know this season. I can't give you a name and a number of how many goals we're gonna give us. But I just hopefully, like I said to you, everyone clicks and everyone plays with each other. They don't play for themselves; they play with each other.
Speaking of goals, by the way, I saw a stat from like last year. Our goal differential at home between playing on the East End to the Stretford end is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Bro, don't even tell me about that, mate.
There's like a 25 goal gap between the two.
Because first half we always kick off towards the East Stand. Saeed sits in the East Stand. So first half he sees no goals. Then we come out second half, score all the goals at the Stretford end, and Saeed's like, "What are you doing to me?"
Bro, it pisses me off, man. Every single time we
Wait, James, you sit in the Stretford end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
James gets all the clips.
Goals. Yeah, so if you're buying a ticket to the stadium, guys, do not buy a ticket in the East Stand. Always buy a ticket on the other side. So either on the on the West Stand, Stretford end, on the quadrants on that side, you're just gonna see goals. Because right now I never see any goals. There was one game I think we had 2 goals and that was it. Like nothing more. Loki, think that Kudus signing means Caicedo sold? I think so a little bit, yeah, because that means they've got a bit of money and they.
I mean, they just got the Robert Sanchez money. Don't forget that though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they don't play the same position anyways. So
yeah.
You were right, Saeed, about the Premier League and all these teams doing a madness. I mean, there's that team that finished below us that are playing Curtis Jones or Bajcetic still in the 6th. They're doing a madness, aren't they?
Well, there you go. That's what I
think. If I speak, I'm in trouble, mate. Yeah. If I speak.
Bro, James, that first game between them and Chelsea, by the way, I clocked.
They're going to get battered by Chelsea. If they don't sign a 6, they are getting battered.
That game is going to be a battle of no 6s, no DMs. Neither team has a real DM.
Game.
I called it the Elon restriction game because no DMs allowed.
What's that mean? Oh yeah.
Elon restricted the DMs. They're both restricted on DMs for some reason.
Wait, someone in the comments said McAllister is injured.
Yeah, I heard he got injured.
That's so funny, man.
I don't know what kind of injury, but I heard he.
I also heard he got dribbled past 5 times. So good luck playing him in an 8.
Well, I saw that Bayern.
Listen, I felt that midfield of them, I would have respected a little bit, thinking they'll keep Fabinho. I understand he had a bad season, but Fabinho is still a good player. I thought he has now fresh legs around him that could help him out. But now that they sold him, this looking peak for them.
Well, they're going to have to play either Thiago, Bajcetic, Curtis Jones, or Trent in the 6.
Curtis Jones in the 6.
Madness.
Yeah.
Madness.
We're about to have Amrabat and Casemiro, and then you have Curtis Jones playing in the 6. You
And they'll still beat us at Anfield. It's mad.
Well, yeah, you
Mad,
know.
yeah.
Anyone would beat us at Anfield at this point.
Big up to United all the way. He says, I don't expect Amrabat to start. If he does start, that means our season has started off very badly. If he plans on dropping Casemiro, he needs to start selling him because things will get toxic quick. Damn, man. Damn. That would be crazy. Like,
we can't sell Casemiro this year, bro. Next year,
we can't.
I think
next year, all I'm saying, bro, if Al Hilal offers 60 mil next summer, I'm selling him. We absolutely have to consider that deal.
I'll do it.
Look
at James's face.
You're right.
He's so mad at us.
Yo.
No. I'm not massively against that. I'm not massively against that.
Michael, you looked very disappointed. I was like, oh, we pissed him off.
Liverpool got 40 mil for Fabinho.
My standard Michael's talking face.
Liverpool got 40 mil for Fabinho. Casemiro is 100, at least 30 times the player that Fabinho is. No disrespect to Fabinho.
He's a bigger name.
And he's a bigger name than Fabinho. Obviously, the Real Madrid, all that kind of talk, bro. If some team offers 60 mil, I mean, you gotta take that at his age too. You can find a deal.
By the way, that thing that you said, Michael, about Caicedo moving to there. So basically, if in case Brighton sell Caicedo, have big money, keep an eye out with them for Kudus. And then Fabrizio's put a wink there. So that means they will then venture up selling Caicedo.
I really don't want to see him go to Chelsea.
I really rate their team, if they sign him. I really, really do. They've got a lot of potential in that team. Good coach. Strikers doing bits.
Give him praise, yeah? Give him
praise.
If
they get,
I do.
If they get Vlahovic,
I do.
If they get Vlahovic on the other way of selling...
Bro, they already got a better check than Vlahovic.
If they're not across the M62 from us and down in that part of the world, I'll give them all the praise in the world, mate. But if you drive down there into that part of the Northwest, you don't get praise from me.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But it's 1.1k. There's only 401 likes, man. Guys, come on, man. You might have mocking it. Like the video, people. It's free content. And yeah, man, subscribe to the channel, man.
I can't lie with Castillo. I was really hoping that Chelsea wouldn't get him this summer because I think next summer we would have put a big bid in for him. I'm not gonna lie. I thought I figured that we would go.
If he stays one more year, we do have a
chance. Just imagine a Caicedo Manu pivot. That just looks class, man. That just
because you do put Caicedo in this team that we have right now, and I think he's already an upgrade because he's
Manu Caicedo Bruno pivot midfield show. Number 21 is coming. I promise you. That midfield 3, that's perfectly balanced. You have your better balance. You have your ball winner, you have your connector, and then you have your chance creator. That's a perfectly balanced midfield.
And he also looked better when covering at right back than Dalot or Wan-Bissaka do as well. So he could play there.
Speaking of right back, I saw Ethan Laird's stats today for Birmingham. He won 21 duels at a 60% clip. You know how crazy that is?
No way.
Bro, 21 duels he won in 70 minutes.
He's a good player. Really good player.
But we sold him for 750k, man.
I don't know.
John Murtough madness, isn't it? That's what James is saying.
You're still blaming John Murtough for Rasmus Hojlund's injury, aren't you? And you're still saying, but Hojlund delayed. Murtough, what's he playing at? A week. You're blaming him for injuries now.
You had to take him. That's why he went to London. That's why he went.
He's blaming him for injuries. That's what he's doing. Murtough madness. Can't get anyone signed.
By the way, I just don't get bro. Ethan Laird is at least.
It's just the injury. It's the injury problems with him. He's just never.
Yeah, but I just feel like 750.
He should be a few mil. I think he should be 2-3 mil with a buyback.
I think we put in a big selling clause for though. I think that's the thing. And he's English, so if he does good, he'll get a decent move, like a 10 mil move, and we can get money from that.
The thing is, I said that
100%.
people need to look at valuations a bit because I saw someone from another channel put out a tweet the other day saying, "Oh, 13 for Fred, that's a joke. We wanted 20," and I'm like, "Yeah, but they wanted to pay 6." This was when Galatasaray were negotiating. I'm like, they wanted to pay 6, so realistically, 13 is in the middle of 6 and 20. It's like you can always look at stuff glass half empty. It's like if you look at Mason Mount, yeah, we wanted to pay 50. Chelsea wanted 80. We ended up paying 55 plus 5. Anana, they wanted 60. We wanted 35. We ended up paying 44 plus 3 or whatever. It's like we've always ended up roughly in the middle of where we want and where they want. And that's how negotiations work. But when you always report what we want to pay and then what we end up paying, then it just looks like we've overpaid. Whereas if you actually reported what they want to sell for and what they end up selling for, it's a different story. So think about the people that release the news, think about the agenda they want to create, and then you might try and figure out where all this negativity comes from.
Yeah, no, 100%, man, 100%. I think for me, it's one of them where with the players down there. But ultimately, I wanted to go back. I've got a super chat here from Football CFC. Candy says on June 20th, Fabrizio. Yeah, if Brighton sell Caicedo, they will have money for one. They want for players. Keep an eye out for Kudus if they get money for Caicedo. Yeah, that's the comment we were just talking about just then, man. But big up Football CFC Candy for the super chat. Big up to everybody still watching. Make sure you hit the like button on the video, man. But I think ultimately it's about balance, innit? Like we could get balance in this team. We could be cooking in it, and that's the key area of where this team is at. I think it's got the talent in the world. I think it's got bundles of energy, pressing, whatever you want to call it, mix and match of abilities. It's just, again, how we find the balance, because that will ultimately determine whether this season is a success or not, and whether we go far in certain competitions and we go far in the league and we build points. Because, like I said, last season, if I look at the points, we got 75 points last season. I think we got, how many goals did we get last season? Let me just check the
Not loads.
Yeah, we've got
We're in 7th
58
place.
goals.
58, yeah. Tied with
Yeah,
Brentford.
58 goals.
It was horrendous.
So
yeah,
again, we hopefully think that, obviously, you know what I mean, could what do you call it, Hojlund can bring us that goals. But are you guys confident about up front? Like, Michael, start off with you. Like, up front, do you think that we can score more goals? We can do it. We can bridge the gap in that way.
Yeah, I think we can. I think Rashford is a guarantee for the 15 plus. I think I can pencil that in if he stays healthy. I think Hojlund, my predictions for him, I said 12 to 14 goals in the league. That would be my base expectation for him. Because there was someone who said that 20 should be the minimum for him. I'm like, you guys are bugging out. They think just because he looks like Hojlund that he can easily come in and break records. It's not.
Do you know how many Man United players, strikers, have scored 20 goals in a Premier League season, and the last person to do it?
Van Persie. I'm pretty sure it was Van Persie. Yeah. I've seen Harry Kane not score 20 goals in the season in this league, and he's one of the best strikers this league's ever seen. So it's not I think 12 to 14 will be a good base for him. But I did say if Hojlund starts off quick, you could be in for a special season, because that momentum, scoring that many goals for you, like your dream club, it could be scary. Because we create a lot of chances, right? The ball just has to go in, because we created the third most big chances in the league last year. So the ball just going. I think Antony will score a little bit more goals this year. I think Garnacho, you're going to see a big uptick in his goal contributions. I expect from him 12 to 14 GA in the league, just from like impact substitutions. It doesn't have to be all goals. Like 8 goals, 4 assists from Garnacho would be a good season for me in his second full season. I think Bruno hopefully finds his shooting boots, because this guy forgot his ball striking boots last year, because he used to be one of the best ball strikers in the team. And then last year he just started hitting the crossbar every second time.
Remember that crossbar against Spurs when he dribbled the keeper?
Bro, 2020 Bruno was sliding that in every day of the week. It's annoying, man.
I think he dribbled the defender, then hit the bar, and I couldn't believe it.
He did what he doesn't normally do. He could dribble.
Like 4 yards out, yeah.
I think Mason Mount can hopefully get in a couple goals as well. I think he's gotten 10 goals in this league before, so if I could get like 5 from him, that's good. Casemiro will always come up with like a goal from somewhere. That's Casemiro's. I think today he almost scored. I don't know. That ended up going off.
Technically did score, yeah. It counted as his.
I was saying that.
Fred needs to get sold as well, man.
So we scored 58 goals. We scored 58 goals last year. I think the goals to this year should be 75.
What about goals from midfield? Because Bruno, how many Bruno did he get last season from midfield? What was his goal record last season?
I'm going to guess 9. Like 7 or 8.
I think 9.
Let me just check.
It's either him or Marcel had 9.
I forgot about him in my calculations, but I don't even care, to be honest.
Yeah, I would guess around 10, but I don't really know.
Yeah, Stephanie Griffiths in the comments said 2 goals average per game equals 76 goals. I think that should be the game. I think that should be the goal for the season, considering who our attackers are.
Yeah, he
I
got
think if
altogether
God.
last season 16 last season.
all comps,
16.
yeah.
That's not bad. That's good.
I
Yeah,
think
so
so.
he
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think he had
Bruno
9.
always contributes though, Donny Pens, the odd free kick.
And he could have had like 10 more assists too. Like that's
Yeah.
the scary thing. So
What
about Mount? What about
his
Mount?
GA will be high because of assists.
Mount, if we could get 10 GA from him this year, that's good for me. I can't lie.
Bro.
You don't want to ask
It just
me.
depends on where he's going to play in it. And
Yeah,
and
it
what
depends.
he-
It depends where he's picking up the ball and stuff. Like when is he actually making those runs into the box? It's very goals can come up. If we score set pieces, will we finally score more than 2 set pieces in the season? That's another question. That'd be nice too because we don't score set pieces.
We don't score set pieces.
one.
We don't even hit the target with set pieces. I'm not gonna.
Well,
lie
I'll
to
tell you why that. And today I wanted to touch on that actually because I think he was one of our better players on the pitch. I think Luke Shaw was superb, and he is basically every time he plays. But that delivery for the Casemiro goal is absolutely superb, and he is without a doubt our best passer, crosser, technician on the ball. So why we're having Bruno take free kicks or Mount take free kicks when Luke Shaw is there is madness.
Shaw
Like Luke
crossed
Shaw's
that,
assist
right?
number.
You know
What?
that pass,
He crossed the headed goal, right?
you know that pass that he made to Rashford, where Rashford it came up-
Unbelievable.
In
Unbelievable.
the game.
Luke Shaw is the best player at left back.
I swear, I thought it was
Lissandro.
Lissandro. That pass was so good.
He's technically, I've said it over and over again, technically the best ball player, like football player on our team. If you look at his first touch, his control, his positioning, his ability to shoot, pass, everything, he's absolutely
Do you
technically
think he did well
superb.
though, on that left hand side to overlap though? I don't think he got out. He broke out as much.
That's not really his game though, side, and he's not actually. Asked to
I
do that.
know.
If you look at it,
Yeah.
if you look
I
at it,
want
side,
it to overlap more though. That's the thing.
no, but I'll tell you something. If you look at it, when we build up, we usually have one of our fullbacks that's playing a little bit deeper, and it's always Shaw.
Yeah.
When you look at the low or Wan-Bissaka when they're playing, they're much higher up the pitch than Shaw. Shaw kind of drops. If you can picture, just don't forget how we're set up on paper. Whenever we have the ball, what our left back kind of comes in deep, and then you have Varane and Lissandro next to them. So it kind of looks like we're playing 3 in the back, and then our right back kind of advances up the pitch. So it looks like we're building up in a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3. When on paper we're actually like a 4.
If we're gonna play this vertical system like that vertical, you gotta have Shaw deeper because if he can,
he's not gonna overlap because
that
that's
pass-
what Mount is doing on that left
pass-
side.
That pass that Shaw made to Rashford, that pass is gonna be made a lot with Hojlund and Rashford making those runs. I'd rather have if anyone on that team's gonna be making that pass, just Shaw and Lissandro. No one else can make that pass except maybe.
But you know what is though? For me, Lissandro's the best player. I think right now for me, man.
That
Lissandro
nutmeg was
Martinez,
cold. That nutmeg was so cold.
Bro, this guy
was
is
good today.
ridiculous, man. Like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna show you a clip here.
So
Look at
can you
this
put that
from,
last comment about Shaw, please?
He got cooked in the last few minutes, in the first few minutes, by the way. And I remember thinking if this was another
the
defender, then he'd be in trouble. But he was there.
I was sleeping, so I never saw that. So it never happened.
That United BT talking about the assists.
Oh, I don't care about that. Too.
United.
Bro, saying
yeah, sure.
Shaw has 19 assists in 10 years. Ever had 23 assists with Man United.
Bro, assists is an important stat, right? But it's so.
I'll tell you why, bro. Because people have looked at Robertson and Trent.
I think it's the way to play football. It's ruined football, mate.
Bro, people tend to forget that that's not normal, bro. But that wasn't normal. Even Salah, when he starts scoring a lot from the wing, people now set their standards that every winger who comes in the Premier League, if you're not banging 20 goals, you're not worth the money. And people forget that.
You want to look at defensive stats. Phil Jagielka is better than Rio Ferdinand if you want to look at goals and assists and stuff. Like, stats are brilliant football, man. Like, stats are great in certain circumstances, but unless you can read them with context and actually use them in mix with what you see on a football pitch. I go to Old Trafford week in, week out, and I have for 26 years. Luke Shaw's a phenomenal football player. If you don't agree with that, absolutely fine. But technically, he's superb.
I think we overgas him, though. Guys, we overgas Luke Shaw, I think, for me.
I don't think so at all.
No, you know what?
At all.
I think for me, I think you know. Listen, hear me out. I think for me, overall, I think Luke Shaw should have had a better career at Man United. When you look at the consistencies he's had, he's been very, very inconsistent. Hey, I think he's had about 2.5, 3 good seasons on average.
This is the guy that won't call Pogba a flop, by the way. He won't call Pogba a flop, and he'll defend Pogba, but Shaw's inconsistent.
But again, different positions. You know what I mean? If you look at Shaw, he's been a.
Who's unlocking Shaw?
Look at that.
Do we need to sign a centre back to unlock Shaw?
Again, I'm not.
You don't unlock a fullback, though.
Hold on a minute. I'm not trying to put players against each other. This is what I'm not doing, though. You're putting players against each other. I'm just looking at Shaw and what he is. I think for me, yeah, when I look at Shaw and I look at his career, it's always been kind of, I don't know. I think always some players have shown him up. Brandon Williams has had to show him up. Tellers at one point had to show him up. Ashley Young has to show him. He has risen above that, but I think sometimes I question his mentality. What's he playing for? Is he playing for his career? Is he playing for a contract? I need to see Luke Shaw consistently year after year after year. And I think
have you ever broken your leg, Saeed? Have you ever broken your leg?
Said it was a double break, Saeed. It was a double break.
Your mental, no, come on, man. If you don't appreciate that has an effect mentally on you, and like he was phenomenal before his leg break. He got that leg break against PSV, and he probably wasn't the same player for about 3 years afterwards.
3 years,
yeah, and he's steadily come back and got better season after season after season. And since like 2021, he's been excellent.
No. He has not been season after season after season. The 2017-18 season, he was terrible under Mourinho.
About 2 years after his leg break.
18. No,
3 years after his leg break. Since then, he's been good.
Listen, I'm saying when he's recovered, when he's been recovered, I'm just looking at it from the base of when he's been recovered, playing 90 minutes after 90 minutes. I'm looking at them performances where it's been shown 2017-18 season. Again, 18-19. For me, Ashley Young was ahead of him. You're looking at 19-20, Ashley Young was still ahead of him. Damian was playing at left back. There's been seasons where I've been looking at thinking he's not been consistent. Again,
Saeed, no, but it takes some.
Let me finish. Let me finish, bro.
Go on, finish then.
I'm giving him credit. I give Luke Shaw always the credit when he deserves it. But I think sometimes the 7-0 Anfield result. Did you guys watch the 7-0 Anfield? I
also watched Casemiro and Martinez and De Gea and Bruno and a lot of other people falter in that game.
But we're talking about Luke Shaw right now. Are we not talking about Luke Shaw? But I'm
just and is he the reason we lost 7-0?
No, I'm not saying about. I'm critiquing his performances. I've been talking about the games where I think like he's mattered the most. He's been found wanting, and this is Luke Shaw, who's an experienced player in that team. I'm just looking at Luke Shaw and thinking, let's not overgas him and be like, he's the best left back in the world.
We're not overgassing him, Saeed. We're just defending him because people do.
Again, like I said to you, there are people out there that will say he's the best left back in the world. I'm like, relax, guys, man. It's a guy who's
not the best. He's not the best.
8 years.
I think when you combine,
that's all I'm gonna give. Energy. That's it.
Honestly, I personally think he's the best left back in the world. Just on ability wise, I don't
think so.
On ability wise, I don't think there's a left back that could do what he do, especially in the first.
I don't think there is in the Premier League for sure. There's not in the Premier League.
No, people be talking about Alphonso Davies. Alphonso Davies is not a better left back than.
He's not.
I don't care about that. I think Theo Hernandez has a shout. I think Nuno Mendes has a shout in a couple. I think Andy Robertson.
It depends on what you need for your team, though, Mike.
I think Andy Robertson. I think Andy Robertson's a because the consistency levels that Andy Robertson has shown at Liverpool, I gotta give him his respect for that. The season after season, that no matter what, he's always like showing the consistent levels. But just on ability alone, in terms of technical ability, the overlap.
We can talk about any player in ability on his alone. We can say the best in the world.
Luke Shaw show consistency, bro. Like that 2021 season was one of the best seasons I've seen from a left back. And I do agree that Luke Shaw's career could have been better because
I agree that was a good season.
If you look at the hype that Luke Shaw had coming up from Southampton, he could have been one of the best left backs. He should have been one of the best left backs.
He had a decent season with Louis van Gaal up until when his leg broke, and it broke early in the season.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
And then by the time he came back,
if Luke Shaw's career panned out the way that it was meant to, Ashley Cole was probably the only English left back that was meant to be better than him. No other English left back should be.
He was rated very highly.
Should have chatted to Luke Shaw because he has everything you want from your fullback. His final ball is really good. His play from deep is good. He could tackle. He's quick. He's strong. He's very strong because we've seen him play center back. How many left backs can you see that can play center back at that short level?
I was about to say that, bro. When he was 19 or 20. First of all, your game is much different when you're 19 to 20 to when he's 27 now. So he's much more mature and smart as a player than he was a few years ago. This guy played amazing under possession football with Louis van Gaal. He was getting the best out of him. Broke his leg. He was out for I don't know how long. Came back to a new manager who played a completely different style that relied on just pace and power, which wasn't really his game at the time. That's Mourinho. Benched him, almost sold him. He had to ask for an opportunity to play. If you guys remember that one game where he had to talk with Mourinho and he actually put him in the starting 11 and he scored in the final minute that game. And then the manager didn't really rate him. And then we switched on to Ole. Ole rated him, played a different style of football as well. At that time, he didn't even like playing for Man United. If you remember, he said he enjoyed his football with England more than Man United. But then when you look at it with Ten Hag right now, exactly, say, but look But now look at his mentality. This summer, he said when he goes to England, he rates most of his teammates in England that he wants to convince him to join Man United. You remember that when it came out this summer. He said he's trying to convince some of these players to join. But my point is, Said, it just shows you how much he enjoyed his football beyond Jose Mourinho and even Ole. Now that he's with a proper team and he's much more mature, and he found a manager that uses him well. He was never an overlapping fullback. We always used him in a way that he seemed lazy. When people said he's lazy and he's overweight, it's because he didn't really play that overlap style. He liked being inverted more. He liked being in the middle of the park more. And then now you have a manager who's playing as a left back / center back. And even when we need a center back, he actually puts him in a center back and he involves him in the build up more than just having him running on the sideline trying to do overlaps. You're getting the best out of his game. And as Mike said, there's not a lot of left backs out there that can fill in as a center back and do it as well as he does.
Said.
Again, if you're a left back, you're a left back. So I don't want to look at the centre back situation. Can I just say, by the way, I think when you look at Luke Shaw's ability, it's clear he's a good ability, he's a good, competent left back. But I look at the other side of football. It's not two sides. There's not one side of football. It's also it's also physically, but it's also mentally. When Luke Shaw, it's not going well for him, he hides. He hides. Whether he says, like you said, he likes to play for England, or when it's competition-wise, next thing you know, he has people out showing him. When it's comfortable and it's going well, Luke Shaw's amazing.
It's been comfortable, Said, and he's been doing
Luke
well.
Shaw hides. And that's where I'm never, ever for me.
The competition part is, but if you think about it, every time he's had competition, that's when we see the best Luke Shaw. Brandon Williams came for a spot.
He shouldn't be that, though. He shouldn't be that.
That's Ike's point.
A left back. Has Ashley Cole had that? Has Ashley Cole ever had Ashley Cole?
That's true.
As a left back.
I do think Luke Shaw sometimes lacks concentration, and that's probably his one weakness, especially with football. I think concentration levels, even against like the Liverpool, the Arsenal game where Bukayo Saka absolutely tore him to shreds. I get that, but like, let me ask you, how many left backs in the world right now? If you, let's say Luke Shaw, like you swap him for any left back in the world right now, how many left backs would you swap him for?
Playing the way that we do it, I wouldn't replace him. The way we play, Said, the way we play.
You're acting like we're mental, Said. There's three of us that said zero. All three of us said zero.
I'm very critical of our players.
I do think.
Do you think he's world class?
I do think he's world class. I think he's world class.
Do I think he's world class? He's one of the best two left backs in the world. I think.
I didn't ask you that question. I said, is he world class? Because you said you want to take any other left back in the world. So that means you mean he's world class.
100%. Yeah.
You think world class? Okay, cool.
Okay. Said, also, you touched on the mentality thing. I just want to touch on something because, psychology is really important in sport. And you guys, let me finish on this because you may disagree, but you're brushing aside something that massively happened in his career, right? Earlier this year, I was in the gym. I had an accident, cut my finger off when I was squatting, right? I had 3 surgeries. I used to squat like 160 kilos. I went back into the gym, got under a bar 6 weeks ago, and I had 40 kilos on the bar and I was shaking like a shitting dog. And I had severe PTSD just squatting that weight because you're really, really scared to go back into and do something that's had negative effects in the past. Last time I squatted, I lost my finger. So it's like you've got to realize that guy went into a tackle. The last time he went into a 50-50, he got a horrendous leg break, which should be career ending for most people. If you can't see that can take 3-4 years to change your mentality to go and address, to go full-blooded into tackles, be committed, then I can't help you with that. Literally, it's common sense.
And the thing is, though, I get injuries are a big part of football, and it was a severe injury. But there's also been players that have been injured so many times that I'm not saying it's a leg breaker, but just in terms of psychologically, you're saying that they're not the same player. So then how do we measure a footballer then? It's very, very difficult to then measure a football because you have to come back from that injury. And if you're then fully recovered, which I think Luke Shaw was at that stage, it then has to be you have to get the best psychologist possible and find a way of becoming mentally tough and then saying to yourself, right, I play for my United Football Club. I'm not going to let anyone be dictated to my form. And I look at Shaw over the years and I'm like, he's always been dictated to by his form by another player. Another player's always had to show him up. That's why for me, I can never put him in that world-class career.
I think the thing with Luke Shaw is the mentally. Can you not say though, Jose Mourinho is an all-time manager, one of the best we've ever seen. But don't you think that coming back from that kind of injury and you're mentally messed up in the head, don't you think Jose is probably the worst manager to come back to in that situation? Because Jose demands that you're ready automatically, no matter the circumstances, 100%. And I think that's the worst manager because Luke Shaw needed someone that not coddle him, but just be on his side a little bit more, like a good man manager. And Jose, like I said, he's a great all-time manager. Everything.
He had Oli though. He had Oli and Brandon Williams took his spot.
And Luke Shaw was great under Ole. pretty much
play
every
good
single.
under Ole.
No, but you had to show him up though. There was a period where Brandon Williams showed him up, and then it was a case of getting your position back. Even till now, yeah, I'm not even lying to you. If Man United go and sign a top left back, okay, Malacia might not be that person. Will we see the same Luke Shaw? I don't know. It could be an adverse reaction. We don't know yet. So that's why I'm
Those
like,
fullbacks that can invert, those fullbacks that can invert, they're very rare nowadays. I promise you, bro. People, listen, Nathan Ake went to Man City and everyone started rating him. Why? Because he started playing that left back / center back position under Pep, and all of a sudden people were calling him the best left back in the league. No one called him that until he was put in a good system. There's not a lot of players that can do that. I promise you, if Luke Shaw didn't play for us, he would be playing that Ake position with that Man City team. People can think I'm crazy. People can think I'm overrating him, but there's not a lot of players in the league that can do that position. See, Liverpool are trying to do that with Robertson, and he can't do it. He can't play that left center back position when Trent goes up. We have a rare player in terms of fullbacks, not players in general, fullback that can do that inverted role and stay in his position when he's needed. If we replace him with anyone in the world right now, I promise you, we wouldn't be playing the same way we're playing. Ten Hag, the way he builds from the back is so reliant on Shaw being on that left-hand side. He wouldn't even, I promise you, even when Malacia's back, he's not going to get a lot of game time this season like he did last season.
I'll tell you who loved him today was Anana loved him today, by the way, because he was always available, left foot, right foot, tight spaces, doesn't care, like he was amazing. And Said, I'll just ask you that, would you swap him for any left back in the Premier League? Anyone? Can you think of any?
Premier League?
Scientist's opinion, that's the only one I know you might entertain, and he's not even the same left back.
The only one is Robertson that you will even entertain.
Come on, Andy Robertson.
Come on. No, I'm saying that's the only one you can even entertain. Not saying that I would do it.
Robertson of a few years ago, The only
Robertson of like 2020, yeah, sure. Robertson now.
He's done, bro. Only upcoming left back is Stupinian, bro.
I want to pick Zinchenko. He's, for me, defensively naive. That's why I want to look. I want to even look Premier League. That's why for me, I'm looking at the greater Europe.
So you're laughing at the fact he's world class, but you're saying he's best in the Premier League. Then
I think left back is the weakest position in the sport of football. I don't think
there's not a lot of good fullbacks.
Bro, I think the way one of my goals, Misha said it, bro. Yo, left back. Honestly, you can just put a left-footed like midfielder there, and you could probably get away with it. That's why do you think Camavinga can play left back? He's left-footed, he's agile, he's quick. He can put in
he's
a
good
tackle.
on the ball.
That's all you need for a left back. You don't have to be some bombing fullback that can go up and down the pitch anymore. It's not.
You know what? As well, I can't imagine other defenders in our team just yet. I'm trying to look at Ake and I'm trying to see what he could give us. I don't know if he would suit, because obviously everyone plays a different style of football. The way Arsenal and Man City play, they play a different style, so it's difficult to kind of to understand.
It is right
in Europe for me. Theo Hernandez, you know what I mean?
But Theo Hernandez wouldn't play the same way, Saeed. He's such an advanced player. He wouldn't play the role that Luke Shaw plays. If you do put Theo Hernandez in our left back, it means now you need to have a fullback on the right hand side. Your right hand, your right back needs now to be able to do what Luke Shaw did on the left, because you can't. Now you're creating an imbalance. You have to imagine Dalot and Theo Hernandez as an example. These guys would be playing so advanced, your center backs would be exposed.
Martinez and Graham would be in the shit.
Because Man City is doing that.
You would have Dalot,
bro, 100%. Because look at Man City, look at Arsenal, and look at Liverpool. All of them have one fullback that's better going forward and one fullback who's better at supporting the center backs. We actually have one fullback who can do that. The reason we complain about our right backs is because none of them are perfect at going forward and defending. That's why when we have talks about who would we replace, we talk about replacing Dalot and Wan-Bissaka way more than we ever talk about replacing the left back, because we have a left back that can actually do the role that the manager wants him to do. If we get a competent right back who's good at defending but is actually good going forward, like most teams have, if we had a Timber or anyone like that, we wouldn't be complaining as much. I wouldn't replace. I'm saying it right now. I wouldn't replace Luke Shaw with anyone.
Oh, okay. You know what? Let me ask you a question now, though. If we upgraded both fullbacks, would it hurt you? Would you be bothered?
Where's the upgrade? Where's the upgrade?
There's a lot of upgrades on Dalot and
where's the upgrade on Luke? Saeed, stop laughing, because you've got three people here who don't know where the upgrade is on Luke Shaw, but you do. So you tell us. You're the fountain of all knowledge that's laughing. So who's the upgrade?
Frimpong would have been one. Gusto.
I'm talking about both.
You don't want to hear my upgrades on Bravo and Wan-Bissaka because I'll give you a whole dissertation on those upgrades. I can think of.
Oh no, I'm not. No. You misunderstood me. I was saying who's the upgrade on Luke Shaw. There's plenty of upgrades on the right. Plenty of upgrades.
Luke Shaw's 27 and we're complaining about him. I can't believe that.
Nuno Mendes is the
It's 28.
Nuno Mendes
27, 28, same thing, Said. He's in his prime, basically. He's in his prime. He's much more mature than I've ever seen him on the pitch. Whenever the ball goes on Luke Shaw's side, except for like I would say Saka, because Saka's like very good at terrorizing Shaw.
Saka's his kryptonite.
Yeah, I saw it in person when we went to the game. He didn't look comfortable defending Saka 1-on-1. But aside of that, every time we get the ball on Luke Shaw's side, I feel much more comfortable than when we're being attacked on the other hand, because the other hand causes much more trouble. Go ahead.
You know why I asked that question? Because some things like are concrete in it. Like, you know how Hojlund up front, you want to swap him. You want to swap him for anyone. I think Onana right now, you're kind of saying we're set on Onana. You know, Casemiro was set. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain positions you're like, nah, we're set, man. We're good. But if you told me the fullbacks have changed next season, I'm giving you, I'm saying, can take it. I want to upgrade the fullbacks.
Madness.
How is that madness? If you want to be the best, yeah, James.
Why are you grouping fullbacks together? So let me say this: if Casemiro was playing with McTominay last season, and we said, "Oh, if you could replace the midfield, would you be happy?" Like, why are you grouping two players together? You're grouping Dalot with Shaw. Ask the question: if you told me I could replace Luke Shaw next season, would I be happy? No.
No, because you know why? Guardiola came in. What did Guardiola do when he came to Man City? You tell me.
Mate, you cannot compare Gael Clichy. You can't. Hold on. If you're comparing that, then you're fucking done, Saeed. Like, you're literally done.
Saeed, you're not getting away.
Do you want to compare Onana to Bravo as well? Fucking done.
Saeed,
it's ideology, though.
Saeed, he replaced all his defenders because all his defenders were shit on the ball.
A good left back now, why are you saying that Clichy is? You know, it's crazy.
Because Saeed, they were all shit on the ball. These were transition fullbacks.
Mad. We don't want to be the best, James. You want to be the best. You got to be the best.
Yeah, so you want the best left back in the world, mate?
No, this is the question. Do you think that we can win the Premier League with Luke Shaw as our starting left back?
Depends on the team, yeah.
It depends on the team, but ultimately
you don't win or lose leagues because of your fullbacks.
You know what's crazy? I spoke to a lot of people today.
If you say no, you're an absolute moron, by the way.
Hold on a minute. Can I ask you a quick? You know what's mad here? Today on Twitter, there's a couple of tactical accounts in it. So I was watching what they were talking about here.
This is your problem. This is your problem.
No. Again, I'm not. No, I'm just looking at what they're looking at. You know what they said? I said midfield balance is an issue. Guess what they were saying? They said fullbacks was an issue. And I was like, what? What do you mean fullbacks an issue? They said the fullback areas are an issue for Manchester United in terms of progressing the ball. And I was
they must be right, Saeed.
Yeah, the right back, not the left.
They must be right.
I'm not saying they're right, but I'm just saying
they must be right.
Areas that people look at, and I think for me,
do you know who is the most progressive left back in world football? It's Luke Shaw. His progression numbers are through the roof.
That's why I don't see it in that aspect. Luke Shaw for me.
And he also doesn't turn up in big games, Saeed, but he scored the opener after 1 minute in the Euros final. But he doesn't turn up in big games. Absolutely buried a half volley. But his mentality's shit. Wake up, man.
Mind you, he's our best.
If he was called Luke Shawzinho and he was Brazilian, you'd be all up in his ass. Get over it.
No, not really. But that's what I'm saying to you. That's what you're doing.
You would. You'd be all over him.
Well, we got the cosign from Roberto
If Man United want to be the best, we have to aim to be the best.
He's the fucking best. What don't you get? He's the best left back in the fucking country by a mile, and he's one of the two best left backs in the world.
Again, country. I want to be the best in the world, man.
And he's one of the two. It's him and Hernandez. Take your pick.
You know what's funny? Let's say
that's
Patrice
crazy,
Evra.
man.
I'm probably gonna get cooked for this, but if you let's say you brought Patrice Evra from 2007 into this team right now,
he wouldn't be good for this team.
You guys would hate him. You guys would hate Patrice Evra.
That's the question. Who would buy Luke Shaw right now? You James.
Real Madrid. That's the first name. Who's their left back?
Saeed, they have Camavinga playing left back, Saeed.
Bro,
if I was Pep, I'd buy Luke Shaw. I think he suits that team perfectly.
If you're going to tell me that 2023 Furlong and some 19-year-old named Frank Garcia, who is going to be a good prospect, who's going to be a great player one day, no shot.
No, they go buy Theo Hernandez. I was
going to say Barcelona, but
maybe Theo Hernandez because of the way that he plays.
Yeah, Balde.
Bro,
I think Man City would buy him.
The Shaw disrespect is crazy, bro. He would fit in the City team. He would fit in the Arsenal team.
I'm not disrespecting Shaw. You know what you guys are doing? You're overgassing Luke Shaw.
Well, I'm not.
But this was my response to you saying he's a good player.
I'm just saying he's a good player. I'm not saying he's world class. I'm not saying he's up there and is this and that. I'm gonna say he's a good player.
Saeed, I'll ruin your argument right here, right? Because you basically said that you wouldn't swap him at the moment for anyone in the Premier League, right? That's what you said. I'm not putting words in your mouth. You were like, I don't really know. Maybe this person, maybe not, right? So you would say that. Okay, so the Premier League has more money than any other league in the world, correct? Bar Saudi. Like, it has all the pulling power of the Premier League rights and stuff, right?
Yeah.
The Serie A is a selling league, right? We all agree no one goes to end their career in the Serie A. They progress on. So if Luke Shaw wasn't the best Premier League left back, if he wasn't the best, then surely all these other clubs would be going out and getting left backs that were miles better because they've got unlimited money, like City, Chelsea, Newcastle, Liverpool. They'd all be going out and buying fantastic left backs that would be better than Luke Shaw, because Luke Shaw then wouldn't be the best left back in the Premier League. But he is, and all these clubs with all this money can't buy a left back that's better than Luke Shaw because there isn't one.
I just think Shaw, for what he brings to this team,
I just think Luke Shaw to this team. I just think the rating of Luke Shaw will never change because of what happened in the past.
Because they look at his
past.
That just shows you that's undeniable.
PTSD, that's what it is.
Zinchenko was so shit.
It's the reason why we don't rate him.
Saeed, Zinchenko was so shit at his time with Man City. He goes to Arsenal and everyone's gassing him up, and he's getting nutmegged in Anfield, and he's averaging more cries than defensive whatever you want to call it on the pitch, and people were gassing him up saying he's better than Luke Shaw. What has he done on the pitch? This guy just inverts and passes simple balls into the midfield, and everyone's gassing over Luke Shaw. Zinchenko. This is the guy. Yeah. Like, when you look at the comments, people are rating Zinchenko over Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw played when what's his name? When Lissandro was out last season with his injury, Luke Shaw fit in that center back position, like
in the derby, by the way. Centre back in the derby against Erling Haaland didn't get a sniff.
Quiet, and we didn't look like we missed him.
The one thing about
centre back, you said, not left back.
The one thing I say about Zinchenko,
but that's my point. He, in a center back or even in a left back position, to just have a left back that can fill in and play as a third center back or just as a center back when you need him, you don't get this value anywhere else. If you put Alphonso Davies in center back, he would get cooked. If you put Cancelo in center back, he would get cooked. Tierney can't play as a third center back. He can't even play. People were saying Tierney in the comments. Tierney can't even get a game ahead of time.
That must be Arsenal fans. That must be Arsenal fans.
Name me one fullback besides Trent who can take set pieces the way Luke Shaw does. This guy brings so much to the table, but because a few years ago, Mourinho called him fat and he wanted him sold, people don't want to get over it. They don't want to see what he's been actually doing in the past couple of years.
Their egos are too big. They can't admit that in the past they had a judgment about a player that's being proven wrong now.
Critical, Said, you know me. I'm very critical about the players that we have. People always call me negative. Oh, this guy wants to be the lead gunner of his fan base, blah, blah, blah. And here I am praising one of the players that I genuinely believe has improved massively in the last couple of years.
You know what it is? It's praising and it's going overboard. And I think that's where, for me.
Listen, I didn't even call him, I'll tell you something. I didn't even call him world class, even though James said that.
Is Bruno Fernandes world class?
No, I don't think.
No.
Okay, bloody hell, man.
No, because in his position, there are more than 2 or 3 better players in the world, right? So Kevin De Bruyne is better. There's several that are better in his position. He's very, very good. Very good.
If Bruno this season has the same season that he had last year, he's world class.
I think world class means you're getting a world 11 or on the bench in your position, and I don't think Bruno does, whereas Luke Shaw does.
The only reason I don't
I think Bruno, if Bruno this season repeats what he did last year, because for me last year he had a world class season in my opinion. Last season he was world class. He was a world.
Yeah.
In a single season, forget about like past
world class. You got to be in big games consistently.
Last season,
the highest stage, Champions League, multiple seasons after multiple. That's when you can, for me, be regarded.
You mean like Teo Hernandez when he got knocked out of the Champions League semi-final last season? You mean like him? When he got dusted down the wing by Inter Milan's right? Yeah, like him.
No, I didn't say Bruno was a world class player. I said last season.
What player are you talking about, bro?
I said last season Bruno had a world class season. When you factor in how good he played, he was in his league, in his specific league. He was the best chance. He was the best chance creator. He was He was one of the best players on our team. He had the stats to prove it up. He had big performances. People say and not every big game. In Big 6 home games, forget the away games. Our whole team was shot. In Big 6 home games, Spurs at home, he was excellent. The Derby, he scored the first goal in the Derby. Liverpool, he was really good against Liverpool.
Arsenal, Shaw will get into the World 11. Do you reckon Shaw will ever get into the World 11?
Saeed, if you're managing that team and you have to pick a left back and one to go on the bench, who are you picking?
I'm not
Right now.
Let me answer my question first of all.
Yes,
Do you
Go
reckon
on.
Luke Shaw will get into the World 11?
Yes.
I think he's gonna have to be one in the World 11.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
So when do you predict that? When do you predict that? This season?
He should have been in it 2 years ago, by the way. That's the first thing. In 2020, 21, he should have been in it. That's for starters. He was the best.
Oh, in terms of like, you mean the actual pick World 11? That usually gets picked on who wins trophies and stuff.
Bro,
But I genuinely think
I've seen Dani Alves in that when he was like 40 years old. I don't think
Yeah.
that shit's
I genuinely think that gets picked on who wins trophies and stuff like that, like Team of the Year and Champions League and stuff does. It goes on who gets furthest in competition, not necessarily who's individually best. But if you were a manager of a World 11 team, picking that World 11 team tomorrow, and you've got to pick a starting left back and a left back to sit on the bench, Luke Shaw takes one of those two spots. You can argue whether it's the first one or the second one, but he either starts or he plays bench to Theo Hernandez. Either or, take your pick.
Okay.
Robertson's nowhere near. Estepinion's nowhere near. Like Tierney's nowhere near. He can't even make Arsenal's bench.
As an advanced fullback, Theo Hernandez is way ahead of Luke Shaw, but that wasn't my point.
Correct.
My point that Luke Shaw, to the team that we have right now, there's not a left back out there in the league that I would get, or in the world probably, that I would get that's going to do a better job in his specific role this season. Because if you switch our left back to being more advanced, that means you need a new right back who's going to do the defensive coverage that Shaw used to do, the ball playing from the back that Shaw used to do, not to replace also the set pieces. The set pieces that Timber would have been it. I'm not going to lie to you. Timber does create that balance because he's also one of
how
those.
we evolve as a football team, and that's why I say if we were to get 2 new left backs next season and they were unbelievable, we'd be all saying, "Wow, is that the standard that needs to be our left back?" And that's why Guardiola changed his left back, because he'd seen the standard at Pellegrini, what it was, to the standard that he wants. He was like, I have to transform this team.
You know,
Pep replaced his left back with a center back.
Do you know how many fullbacks Pep has signed?
Listen, let's finish it. You're getting rattled, man. You're getting rattled, guys. Come on, man.
Pep has signed like 10 fullbacks since he joined Man City. I've seen I've seen Benjamin Mendy, I've seen Fabian Delph, I've seen Zinchenko, I've seen Cancelo, I've seen Kyle Walker probably play left back, I've seen Fernandinho play left back probably. I've seen every player at Man City.
No, but we're talking about fullbacks that came in and actually was fullback.
Rico Lewis.
It was Mendy. It was Kyle Walker. They were the two.
Other than Kyle Walker, he hasn't had a good he hasn't had a good fullback side other than Kyle Walker. Even Cancelo, you can argue he had 2 very good years, but then he realized he needs someone, because you can't have 2 fullbacks that just bump up the pitch and don't afford anything in the build-up. So he got rid of him and he put a center back. People forget that Ake is a center back. He's not even a left back. So if Pep is putting a center back in that left back position to create 3 center backs in the build-up, why am I not to sit here and say we need Shaw to help Lisandro and Varane when we build up the play? And he does it magnificently, bro. We are talking about his passing today, but the minute we start rating him, people are saying, "Oh, we're deluded and stuff." Tierney does not, bro. This guy said Tierney plays as a left center back for Scotland. He is shit for Scotland. McTominay plays like as a center back for them, bro. What are you talking about? He doesn't get a sniff for that.
So one thing I'll say about Luke Shaw, ask Luke Shaw's peers what they think about him, and we'll find out what people really think about Luke Shaw as a player. Because I think if you ask other footballers what they think about Luke Shaw, they're gonna absolutely gas him up. But one of the best fullbacks of all time gave him like a Brazilian name. If you look at what he's done.
Oh, yeah. Roberto Carlos.
Yeah. But listen, people, we're going to wrap it up here, man. Hour 45. We didn't end up wanting this Luke Shaw. It just shows you, man. I am not disrespecting Luke Shaw. I think for me, I'm just putting him where he needs to be. He's a good left back, but I don't think he's world class. I don't think he's up there with the best left backs in the last 10 years or whatever. I don't think he's even in there.
That's a different discussion.
That's a different conversation. We're talking right now. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm talking right now.
Last 10 years.
Again, like I said to you. Again, like I said to you, I'm giving him where I've given Shaw credit where it's due, but I just look at his overall career at Man United. It's been the word I can describe Luke Shaw at Manchester United is inconsistent. That's it for me. But anyway, we're gonna wrap it up here. James, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. You know, I mean, you've been a good servant. You know, Murto, Shaw. Who else are you defense league, man? Anyone else?
I will defend anyone. I will defend anyone that you try and bash. Saeed, bring it on. I will always try and defend my players, but. Listen, like I came back from the game today and I was like, listen, enjoyed the game. First time back at Old Trafford for a while. Came back. What did I see? Logged on Twitter and Saeed's been clipped by skullfuckery already. So welcome to the 2023-24 season. Plenty more Saeed clips to come. Hold that.
Hold that. There you go, people, man. Michael Griggs, Bruno Fernandes is going to be world class next season, man. But big up to you, man.
You never know, man. I'll defend Bruno. Yo,
You're so bad, Saeed. So
wait,
bad.
who is it? Is it Danny that has the
Man
Bruno?
in the dunya.
Is it Danny that has the Bruno Defense League? I'm joining the Bruno Defense League this year. I'm joining.
Really,
that.
man?
Did you see our group chat, bro? Our group
Bro,
chat
I'm
is
joining Bruno
always,
Defense League. I
is
think
always
Bruno.
Bruno defense.
I think if Bruno is playing
Yeah.
the way that he did last year, I think that's very important. But nah, big up Saeed, of course. Obviously, I think we have our show next Thursday as well.
Yeah, man.
I'm recording my YouTube video tomorrow, kind of a Premier League prediction because obviously now I clocked yesterday that the season actually starts next Friday. That's actually crazy.
It's crazy, man.
Our last game
Mad.
against Fulham felt like a week ago, and now we're
It starts
already
on a
playing.
Friday.
Yeah, it starts on a Friday, Man City, Burnley. So
Friday, Man
yeah.
City. Man City
Yeah.
Friday.
And of course, follow me on Twitter. Where I'll probably get rattled. You guys will probably rattle me, and then yeah.
If you stop defending
man.
Bruno, we won't rattle you. Don't worry.
I don't even defend Bruno that much on Twitter, but yeah.
I defend Maguire. It's much worse, mate. Don't worry about it.
Nah, I don't go that far. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But big up to Staffy, man. Love for coming on, man.
No, of course. Big up for having me, bro. Big up to the mandem here. Great show as usual. You know, you guys can banter us all you want in the comments about us supporting Shaw. You know, we don't care. We went and got Saeed today. We were fed up, you know. We
We'll have the last.
this
We will
guy,
have
bro.
the last laugh. We will have the last laugh. I
I
promise.
promise you, bro, if we have a great season, it's gonna be a part of it is gonna come down to Shaw because he's so essential to this team that people don't want to understand. You know, but we'll see, bro. You know, everything will
Nah,
get proven
definitely,
at on time. But follow me on the socials at Don Staffy and sub to my YouTube channel, Staffy TV. We'll be doing more content hopefully soon. And big up for having me, bro.
Yeah, man, definitely, people, man. I'll be back tomorrow. I think we're playing Dublin against Atletico Bilbao. So make sure you tune in for that one, man. And yeah, this has been another heated debate show, but that's what we do on Saeed TV. And yeah, man, we're out, people. Luke Shaw, world class. Let me know in the comments. Luke Shaw, world class. Take care.